Hi, welcome to my channel. The full version of the audiobook is available on my Patreon. You can quickly find it through the link in my profile description. Thank you for your support.
Chapter 1 is about you, AC Milan. Opening his eyes, Huang Kaiwan touched a Nokia phone and saw the date May 24, 2004 on it, but he was not alarmed. Having written hundreds of millions of words over more than a decade, he had long fantasized about this situation. He immediately threw off the covers, got up, and changed his clothes. As he looked down, he thought, damn, this is a donkey hybrid. Feeling energetic and youthful, he went to the bathroom to look in the mirror and was absolutely amazed by how handsome he looked. The boy in the mirror looked to be about 17 or 18 years old, a little over 1.8 meters tall, with sword-like eyebrows, bright eyes, red lips and white teeth, a straight nose, and a beauty mark under his eye, though it was probably a girl crying for him. The only slightly discordant thing was his medium-length hair that reached past his ears and the same hair color as the Pepsi spokesperson, which was very contemporary. This is no big deal. Reborn and transmigrated, he's 10 years younger, full of vitality, and incredibly handsome. It's a win-win situation no matter how you look at it. With his experience writing so many novels, wouldn't it be easy for him to slay gods and attain enlightenment at this point in time, then buy some Bitcoin and easily achieve financial freedom? Then, with a wet left hand and a sweet right hand, you'll reach the pinnacle of life. I'm not Huang Rong, I don't know martial arts, all I want is my jingage and perfect love. Turn on the TV and Huang Kaiwan hummed along to a song full of the spirit of the times. An hour later, after fully understanding the situation, Huang Kaiwan sat on the edge of the bed, dumbfounded. The owner of this body was also named Huang Kaiwan, and both his parents were university professors. In that era, highly educated intellectuals longed for foreign countries and preferred to go abroad to wash dishes rather than stay in China. It was perfectly normal to have this name, as if being named Kevin made one a first-class person. Huang Kaiwan's parents, who were university professors, were in a car accident, but they left him with 7 school district properties in Beijing and a considerable fortune earned from stock trading. To be honest, Huang Kaiwan should be considered a winner in life. Even without money, he could still date female celebrities just by his looks. He graduated from university at 21 and is considered a young genius. However, the door God opens for you might be the gate to hell. You have a family history of cancer, are diagnosed with mid to late stage liver cancer, and have only 6 to 12 months to live. Without any warning, you are given a death sentence. The original owner couldn't accept it and was scared to death, which allowed him to get a bargain. Sitting there in a daze, Huang Kaiwan finally understood what it meant for joy to turn to sorrow. Damn it, at least he used to be able to buy a house and a car by writing, and at most his health was a little suboptimal. Now it seems like his life is on a countdown. The television was still broadcasting incessantly, Mr. Edith from the Italian Trade Commission, Mr. Ivan Scott from FIFA's International Football Event Agency, Mr. Ruji Iwata, President of Rockfield Company, Limited, Mr. Lu Shen, Chairman of the Shanghai Football Association, as well as relevant officials from Shenhua Club, leaders from the event organizers, Wenguang News Media Group and Wenhui Xinmin United Press Group, etc. At the press conference, Lu Shen, chairman of the Shanghai Football Association, warmly welcomed AC Milan's visit to Shanghai again. He said, AC Milan's visit to Shanghai is of positive significance to Shanghai football. AC Milan is a great team. Their long history and excellent record are enough to prove that AC Milan is excellent not only in Italy, but also in Europe and even in the world football scene. AC Milan's visit to Shanghai will help strengthen. The leader on TV was all smiles and gestures, but Huang Kaiwan just found him noisy. Ding, the play like Maradona system is activating. Activate now. Huang Kaiwan rolled his eyes at the air in annoyance. Even if I were Lionel Messi, there wouldn't be much to play for 12 months. Besides, he had already had enough of becoming a novelist in his previous life because of reading novels. Although he was a football fan, he had no interest in playing football. Never let your hobby become your job. The thing he regretted most in his previous life was using class time to read novels. Ding, the kick like Maradona system activation has been cancelled. The I am the king of football system is now activating, loading at 1%, 5%, 60%, 99%. Trial version activation in progress. New player gift packs are being distributed. A mission has been issued: join a G14 powerhouse during the summer transfer window and inherit the will of the great football legend Carlos Kaiser. Mission reward: restore your health and clear all ailments, activate the full version of the system. Ha ha ha. Huang Kaiwan grabbed his hair and laughed wildly, otherwise he couldn't express his excitement. What does it mean when heaven never closes all doors? What does it mean to be a chosen one of destiny? I told you, with both the costume and the system, how could he possibly die young? As for joining a top club, he'll do anything to survive right now, even if it means resorting to any means necessary. What's more, the system also gave me a newbie gift pack. After opening it, I should be at the level of a football king, since it's called the Football King Carlos system. On television, the Shanghai leaders were in high spirits when Huang Kaiwan slapped his thigh and declared, "The victim has been chosen, AC Milan." Open the new player gift pack. After making a selection, a reward appeared. Obtain a superstar trial card. The effect lasts for 30 days after use, and expires at the end of the summer transfer window. Receive a gift pack featuring any of the 4 languages. Acquired skill: Tom Hanks' peak acting skills. How can a great player not know how to act? Sergio Busquets. Huang Kaiwan was a little confused. The things the system gives me don't seem quite right. Sergio Busquets, of course, knew about him. After all, he was the Oscar for Best Actor in football. But what did that have to do with the king of football? Sitting on the bed, Huang Kaiwan spent a long time searching on his laptop, but he still couldn't find a player named Carlos Caesar. He vaguely recognized the name, but couldn't quite place it, which is unusual for a fan. While cooking, preoccupied with his thoughts, he suddenly had a flash of inspiration. Because he had seen this name on a public WeChat account in his previous life, and this football king was no ordinary person. No wonder he couldn't find any information about him. It was only because of the explosion of social media that Carlos Caesar's deeds were unearthed and widely circulated. Carlos Kaiser never officially played a match or scored a goal in 26 years, but he made a name for himself with his high emotional intelligence and smooth talk. He played for more than a dozen top Brazilian clubs and national teams in Brazil, Mexico, Puebla, and other countries. He was even once hailed as the king of football. Carlos has limited talent, his only advantage is his good physical fitness. At 16, he was scouted by a Mexican second-tier team for his off-ball training, but was soon discovered to be unable to play football and was expelled. After returning to Brazil, Carlos began to curry favor with powerful figures everywhere he went. With his exceptional emotional intelligence and eloquence, Carlos quickly became very familiar with many football stars. A group of Brazilian national team players all like him very much. They will also proactively recommend Carlos to the club. That's how Carlos always managed to get into the big clubs. Most professional players cherish their playing opportunities and try their best to perform in order to gain more recognition. In this respect, Carlos Caesar was quite different. He always tries every possible way to avoid competitions. After all, his skill level would be exposed as soon as he touched the ball. Therefore, whenever Carlos Kaiser joins a new team, he immediately tells the coach that he is not in good form and needs time to train alone. He runs laps during individual training sessions, demonstrating excellent physical fitness. Once this trial lecture is over, I'll feign illness to avoid the competition. Carlos has used a variety of excuses: a hamstring strain while playing football, slipping and falling in the shower. In one of his most outrageous instances, he asked a dentist friend to write a diagnosis proving that he had a problem with his teeth, which even affected his thigh, thus preventing him from competing. Given the medical conditions at the time, his lies were difficult to expose. So Carlos Kaiser succeeded, he always managed to find a team. Whenever he was about to be exposed, he would choose to run away. Besides fooling the coach within the team, Carlos is also adept at creating hype. He had close relationships with many local newspaper reporters. He often invites reporters to dinner. The reporters, on the other hand, lauded him as a god. Or it could be some rumors that Mexico is eager to sign him, or that the Brazilian team really wants him. Before every match, Carlos Kaiser would buy candy for the children watching the game. Please ask them to surround you after the game and ask for your autograph. To create the illusion of being very popular. For a while, Carlos carried around a mobile phone with him, and would occasionally pull it out and speak fluent English in public, saying that FC Barcelona was considering signing him. Little did he know, he had made up all those English words, and the mobile phone in his hand was just a model toy. Thus, despite never having played a full match or scored a goal, Carlos was regarded as a true football superstar wherever he went. His fans gave him many nicknames, such as God Striker, Demon Blade, and Football Caesar, and his fame grew ever greater. After playing for various clubs in Brazil, Carlos set his sights on overseas. He received an invitation from Ajaccio in France, and subsequently traveled to France. On that day, enthusiastic fans packed the entire training ground, eager to witness the brilliance of the Brazilian striker. Under such circumstances, it would be rather embarrassing to feign injury. Carlos had a brilliant idea. He kicked all the footballs on the training field one by one towards his fans. With no football on the field, his teammates had to join him in a football parade, bringing the atmosphere to a fever pitch. In the years that followed, Carlos made his mark in the United States, Mexico, and Argentina, becoming one of the world's most famous football stars. I have to say, this guy is a real talent. Huang Kaiwan now understands what the King of Football Caesar system is. It's just about making him, like Carlos Caesar, a salary thief who plays tricks on the wealthy families. He agreed, people are willing to do anything to survive. At worst, he can just wait until he completes the mission and recovers his health before being kicked out of the team. What's a time traveler like him afraid of being kicked out? After retiring, he can just write a book called, I Really Don't Want to Play Football, and it'll be a bestseller. End of this chapter. Chapter 2, the reporter stormed onto the field. He took out the original owner's press card and boarded a plane directly to Shanghai. This is a do-or-die situation. If he can't be signed by Milan, his career is basically over. After all, getting a visa to go abroad is very troublesome these days, especially for someone like him who has lost both parents and is unemployed after graduating from university. He is very likely to be rejected, and any indication of immigration intent can lead to rejection. So AC Milan is basically his only chance. The chance to survive. I randomly picked a 4-star hotel to stay in. Although he spent most of his previous life writing, he also ran a milk tea shop and a barbecue restaurant. He wasn't the type to be a complete shut-in. Although he lost money in both for various reasons, his social skills and emotional intelligence were fine. It will be very difficult for AC Milan to sign him. You have to understand that these days, foreigners have very high security levels when they come to China, so he had no chance to sneak into the hotel. If you're not careful, you might get shot directly. The best way is to rush onto the field. That's why he brought his press pass. With Huang Kaiwan's financial resources, he easily infiltrated the enemy's ranks. June 2, 2004, Homco Stadium. AC Milan, one of the world's top football clubs, is visiting China again after 8 years. Serie A was the first league to be broadcast in China, and AC Milan is the most popular team in Serie A. This trip to China has completely ignited the enthusiasm of Chinese fans. Although AC Milan had many key players absent due to the European Championship and Copa America qualifiers, it still couldn't stop the transfer market from heating up. Redondo's retirement announcement has prompted many loyal fans to seize one last opportunity to watch their idol play live. Milan, Milan. The fans roared and waved Milan scarves, trying to convey their passion onto the field. Without a doubt, AC Milan is more popular than their home team, Shanghai Shenhua. Young people are the main force today, and they don't hold back their voices at all. At worst, they'll just buy a box of throat lozenges that Ronaldo endorses after the game. You ignorant brat, back then AC Milan sent Papin and Baggio, now they're just sending rotten fish and shrimp. The older fans were not satisfied with today's lineup and vented their frustration on the younger players. They're so young and inexperienced. When Milan came to China for 3 consecutive years, they fielded players of Papin and Baggio's caliber. What kind of scum is on the field today? The young man wasn't going to put up with the middle-aged man and retorted directly, then why did you even come to watch? Shaw. Seeing the young fan's face flushed red, the uncle felt he couldn't win the argument, so he waved his hand and muttered, "Hey, I won't stoop to your level." That's just how reality is. If you don't argue with him, he thinks he's all that. But if you do argue with him, he starts talking about manners. However, this was just a minor incident. On the green field, the players from both sides were arranged in 2 rows, with the front row crouching and the back row standing. Several leaders in suits were also standing in the back row. They were Xinhua's senior management and leaders. Maldini and Costacurta in the front row exchanged a smile tinged with bitterness. Although I've been to China several times, there are always new surprises. This is the first time in Maldini's long professional career that he has taken a photo with the opposing team as one of the 11 players. It's quite an eye-opener for him. Fortunately, the enthusiasm of Chinese fans can soothe their wounds. The stadium was filled with people wearing red and black striped jerseys, a privilege usually reserved for away games. Milan players are all ready to give their best and repay the enthusiastic fans. However, as the match progressed, the enthusiastic atmosphere cooled down, and the Milan players began to fall silent. In the first half, Shanghai Shenhua capitalized on 2 chances. In the 52nd minute, Alberts made a clever through pass, and Chu Xingqing broke through the middle, dribbling past Caracelli before scoring with a low right-footed shot from 12 meters out, breaking the deadlock and putting AC Milan down 0-1. In the 53rd minute, Shanghai Shenhua extended their lead. Peter Villa, in midfield, outmaneuvered Diana, pulling him forward 30 meters before passing to Sun Ji on the right wing, who unleashed a powerful right-footed shot from 22 meters out to score, giving Shanghai Shenhua a 2-0 lead. Not to mention AC Milan fans, even the Shanghai Shenhua fans who came today just to be there were dumbfounded. They never imagined that their team could beat Milan 2-0. Parting is like the quiet sound of flutes and pipes, silence is the rainbow bridge tonight. Huang Kaiwen stood on the sidelines with a camera, pretending to be a superstar and secretly using his experience card. Gain Messi's dribbling skills, Ronaldo's shooting skills, Klose's heading ability, Michael Owen's speed, Pirlo's vision, Xavi's playmaking ability, Ferdinand's positional awareness, Juninho's free kicks, Ronaldinho's ball control. 30 days. Goodness! Huang Kaiwen exclaimed, "Wow, if this isn't a trial card, he's the strongest football star in the world." He took off his coat and pants, revealing his Milan jersey underneath, but no one noticed, everyone's attention was focused on the game. For convenience, he didn't change his shoes, but the Puma F1 series he was wearing today is very similar in shape to football shoes, so it didn't affect his playing too much, except that it didn't have studs. Just then, a Shenhua player kicked the ball to the sidelines. Seizing the opportunity, Huang Kaiwen darted out like a leopard without hesitation, sprinting at high speed with the ball under his feet. Maldini and the Shenhua players who came over to receive the ball instinctively stretched out their legs, but he beat them with a frizzy pass. Ancelotti was stunned. Both teams' players and fans were stunned. Coach Zhang, who was in charge of commentating on today's match, said after a long pause, without any emotion, an AC Milan fan rushed onto the field, his ball control skills are quite good. Huang Kaiwen rushed onto the field, carrying the ball towards Shenhua's half. Even the Milan players came up to intercept him. Borriello charged at him with a flying tackle, but Huang Kaiwen was prepared. He took a step forward with his left foot, squeezed the ball between his feet, and threw it from behind to the front. What a brilliant rainbow crossing! Coach Zhang is completely exasperated. Good grief, is this a case of fans getting so frustrated with Milan falling behind that they've taken to the field themselves to play? I must say, this young man plays football quite well. Brocchi and Shenhua's Alberts rushed towards Huang Kaiwen almost simultaneously. The players from both teams, out of professional understanding, prepared to double-team and defend him, taking the disruptive fan off the field. Huang Kaiwen also noticed this. He accelerated and dribbled at high speed, keeping the ball about 1 to 5 meters in front of him. When Brocchi and the others came up, he suddenly flicked the ball, which passed directly in front of the 2 players. Then Huang Kaiwen accelerated and followed suit, passing between the 2 players. The ball and the player are separated. Coach Zhang's tone had begun to rise. On the sidelines, Ancelotti's eyes lit up. With his high stride and long strides, Huang Kaiwen's dribbling style was very similar to Milan's newcomer king, Kaká. The Shenhua defenders exchanged glances, made their decision, and swarmed towards Huang Kaiwen. No matter the reason, they cannot allow a fan to wreak havoc on their defense. However, they overestimated themselves and underestimated Huang Kaiwen. Facing Jia Wenpeng's charge, Huang Kaiwen pushed the ball with the outside of his right foot, then quickly pulled the ball back with his toes, and with a flick of his toes, he got past his opponent. Next, he dribbled past Dong Yang with a top ball. Seeing this, Li Qingming became furious and prepared to use both hands and feet to pounce on Huang Kaiwen. Unexpectedly, Huang Kaiwen easily avoided the obstacle by stepping on the ball and pulling back, then used the Blanco Frog jump to jump over this clumsy obstacle and directly went one-on-one with him. Shenhua goalkeeper Zhu Huiqian was extremely nervous. However, as a professional player, he knew that the best course of action was to attack. Facing the onrushing goalkeeper, Huang Kaiwen calmly began to perform stepovers. When Zhu Huiqian rushed over, he used a lateral pull to avoid him and then dribbled the ball into the goal. Goal! The entire room fell silent. But Huang Kaiwen was not satisfied after scoring. He controlled the ball and brought it out of the goal, heading towards the midfield. Good grief, they're preparing to do it again. Damn it, grab him. At this point, the security supervisor remembered his responsibility and angrily ordered the stadium security to rush onto the field. Seeing that things were going badly, Huang Kaiwen quickly dribbled the ball, dodging the pursuit of both teams, and rushed to the sidelines to stop. At this moment, he was already being hugged by Donati. He didn't struggle, but shouted in Italian, "Give me a chance. You've seen me play. Milan will definitely not regret signing me. Please, Carlo Ancelotti, believe me, signing me is like signing another Ballon d'Or winner." Huang Kaiwen, who was being held tightly by both teams' players and security guards and being pulled away, began to struggle desperately and kept shouting at Ancelotti. "We had no choice but to shout. If he fails to sign with a top club before the summer transfer window closes, he's doomed." End of this chapter. Chapter 3 helps Milan turn the game around. Carol, sign me. I'll be your wisest signing ever. Give me a chance, please, I beg you. As he was about to be carried into the players' tunnel by security, Huang Kaiwen clung tightly to the edge of the tunnel and shouted at Ancelotti. His voice was like a cuckoo crying blood, making the fans in the nearby stands feel anxious. With a gloomy and uncertain expression, Ancelotti finally got up and walked over. Seeing this, the security personnel released Huang Kaiwen, but they still held his hands behind his back, fearing that he would rush back onto the field. "Let him go, he's not a bad person." Ancelotti's words were quickly translated and implemented. Ancelotti, being a kind-hearted man, reassured the security personnel a few more times before pulling Huang Kaiwen towards the coaching bench. "What position do you play?" Ancelotti asked. "I can play anywhere in the attacking third, but my favorite position is in the middle. However, if I had Kaká, I could also play as a winger," Huang Kaiwen said without any hesitation. Ancelotti turned to the locker room manager and waved, "Get him a set of gear." Upon seeing this, Huang Kaiwen immediately said in Italian, "I wear size 42 shoes, so you'd better give me a number 7 jersey." Ancelotti was exasperated. This guy was already asking for a number. Was he some kind of troublemaker? But then he thought about Huang Kaiwen's performance on the field and secretly chuckled to himself. Signing a player with that kind of ability for free would be a huge win. God knows why this kid couldn't find a team before. Ancelotti has decided to give Huang Kaiwen a contract, but he needs to play some more games to try. Milan substitutes surrounded Huang Kaiwen, asking him all sorts of questions. It wasn't the first time they'd seen fans rush onto the pitch, but they'd never seen fans who played football this well. While warming up, Huang Kaiwen chatted and joked with them. In the 76th minute, Ancelotti replaced Sirinoli, and Huang Kaiwen was pushed onto the field by him, who said, "Go ahead, show yourself." Immediately afterwards, Ancelotti called over Captain Maldini and instructed him, "Tell them to pass the ball to that kid more often, see how good he is, and if nothing unexpected happens, we will sign him." Maldini nodded. Although he was a little annoyed at being tricked by Huang Kaiwen, he also felt that the kid was capable, and it was a great thing for the team he had served for half his life to sign such a player. So when he returned to the court, he seriously instructed his teammates to pass the ball to Huang Kaiwen more often. It's not that he's being nosy. The main problem is that professional players are generally arrogant and xenophobic. Huang Kaiwen's entrance today offended some people. If things aren't handled seriously, they probably won't cooperate. That fan has come on. We don't know his name yet, but he should be Chinese. Speaking of which, his skills are really good. Now he's wearing Milan's number 7 jersey. I wonder if Ancelotti will choose to sign him, Coach Zhang said cheerfully. Although it was a bit nonsensical, it was always good that a Chinese talent had suddenly appeared. The game restarted, and despite Maldini's instructions, the Milan players still harbored the intention of teaching Huang Kaiwan a lesson. Whether a pass is too big or too small is entirely up to the passer. As for the Shenhua players, Huang Kaiwan just suddenly appeared and dribbled past several people, making them the background. They are very angry about it. It can be said that the vast majority of players on the field do not like Huang Kaiwan. After receiving the ball, Diana made an attacking run into the attacking third, deliberately sending a long ball a little short, just to teach Huang Kaiwan a lesson. Seeing this, Huang Kaiwan immediately ran from the wing to the center, then jumped and barely managed to head the ball to the side with his chest, ahead of Shenhua's foreign player Alberts. He then accelerated forward and stole the ball from Yutao. Immediately afterwards, he passed the ball to Ledesma, who had also been substituted on not long ago, and rushed towards the penalty area. Ledesma decisively fired a shot into the penalty area. The pass was also quite long, but Ledesma underestimated Huang Kaiwan, or rather, Michael Irving's peak speed. Even though the ball was deliberately passed to the byline, Huang Kaiwan still managed to receive it in the penalty area. He then ignored Borriello's request for the ball and, with a very tight angle, turned and fired a shot. The ball easily broke through the goal guarded by Zhu Huiqian. Goal. World wave. This goal was no less impressive than Van Basten's one from a 0-degree angle. This fan helped Milan pull one back, making it 1-2. AC Milan now has hope of equalizing. Ancelotti clapped and laughed on the sidelines, the wrinkles on his face could trap flies. Unexpectedly, Huang Kaiwan scored a goal as soon as he came on the field. The AC Milan players were also surprised by this situation, and they put aside their underestimation and decided to start playing well. A few minutes later, Redondo was brought down by Gavin Pang while dribbling past an opponent, giving AC Milan a free kick about 35 meters from the goal. Ledesma was eager to try, but Huang Kaiwan walked over, picked up the ball, pointed to himself, and said, "I'll do it. I need to hurry up and show myself." Ledesma shrugged and walked to the side, joining his teammates to watch the spectacle. Tens of thousands of eyes in the entire stadium were focused on this scene. Even Shenhua fans are now secretly cheering for Huang Kaiwan. As everyone can see from today's situation, as Chinese people, they all hope that this child can impress AC Milan. Huang Kaiwan put the ball down and began to back away. After taking a deep breath, he took small running starts. Step. 2 steps. 3 steps. After 3 steps, he swung his arm and raised his right foot. Bang! The ball flew almost without any curve, heading straight for the goal from Huang Kaiwan's position. Just as Zhu Huiqian breathed a sigh of relief, the Shenhua goalkeeper suddenly noticed that the ball was starting to drop. Damn it, it was a knuckleball. He didn't have time to react, the ball dropped and went straight into the net right next to him. The entire Hongkou Stadium erupted in cheers. Huang Kaiwan wisely chose to celebrate by hugging the Milan players. Ancelotti kept rubbing his hands together, wishing he could just interrupt the game and sign Huang Kaiwan. During his time on the field, Huang Kaiwan displayed not only skill and speed, but also scored 3 goals on his first descent, all with his left and right feet respectively. In the world of football, players who are equally adept with both feet are very rare. It's even rarer to find someone who can use both hands and is also exceptionally talented. This trip to China was a real stroke of luck. A few minutes later, Huang Kaiwan dribbled past 4 players on the edge of Shenhua's penalty area and provided an assist for Borriello, helping AC Milan to turn the game around. As soon as the referee blew the final whistle, Ancelotti couldn't help but rush onto the field and pull Huang Kaiwan away. He had to sign him, he couldn't wait a minute longer. End of this chapter. Chapter 4, The Nation in Turmoil, Milan's Chinese number 10. Well done, son. By the way, your Italian is very fluent. Ancelotti pulled Huang Kaiwan toward the players' tunnel, not forgetting to instruct the assistant coach to seek help. During this trip to China, he needs to sign some business cooperation contracts, and the club's legal department is accompanying him. He needs to finalize a professional contract as soon as possible and then sign Huang Kaiwen. Before signing the contract, you must never let the child out of your sight. The organizers looked unhappy when Ancelotti left, since there was an important group photo session to follow. With the head coach absent, the remaining Milan players will have to suffer. Maldini was in a very good mood today. The result of the friendly match was not important. Although the final goal was satisfying, it was actually insignificant. Even if he gets beaten by double digits by Shenhua today, he doesn't care. At most, he'll just feel a little embarrassed. The main reason was that Huang Kaiwen's unexpected appearance made him very happy. At 36 years old, with his career nearing its end, it's truly a wonderful thing to see a team sign a super talent at this time. He even felt that this was a gift from God to him in Milan. That kid is really good. Yes, I sensed his enormous potential. How old is he? Is he a professional player in China? It seems like the boss wants to sign him. He'll be our teammate from now on. That's fantastic. We have Kaká and Shevchenko, and if we sign that kid, we're sure to make a difference at the start of the new season. Maybe we can even win another Champions League trophy. I didn't expect to have such a fruitful trip to China. The Milan players, who were previously unhappy about the group photo, are now beaming and very cooperative with the organizers' requests. In the locker room, Ancelotti chatted casually with Kevin Huang. "Carol, are you going to give me a contract?" "Yes, we will sign you. Don't worry, Milan will definitely give you a fair deal." Milan hasn't declined yet, so they certainly have the confidence to say that. It's said that Milan signed Donnarumma for more money, but actually, Milan had already signed Kaká's brother, Deegan, around the same time to keep Kaká, and his salary was the same as Donnarumma's, €1 million. More than a decade earlier, Deegan had already earned this salary at Milan thanks to his brother, which was even higher than the salaries of some key players in Serie A teams. Huang Kaiwen considered hiring a lawyer. However, in 2004, domestic lawyers were simply not good at handling sports contracts. Even after the Chinese Super League entered the era of big spending, Chinese Super League teams were still taken advantage of by many foreign players due to unprofessional contracts. So he was too lazy to do anything else. Anyway, he's just a slacker. He doesn't care whether the contract is a trap or not. He can understand the simple terms, but he won't agree to the complicated ones. Even if he gets ripped off, it's no big deal. When it comes to life, a little time or money is of no importance. There's a popular saying on the forum, "Maybe I should eat 10 more pounds, otherwise I won't feel at ease keeping this money." It's about saving your life, becoming a professional player, and maybe even getting a generous salary. Huang Kaiwen felt somewhat uneasy about this level of reward. About an hour later, after the event and post-match press conference had ended, the assistant coach finally brought out the contract. Milan players also gathered around to join in the fun. My God, €2.5 million after tax. Really? I read in the newspaper that Kaká's salary was €2.5 million after tax before he renewed his contract. Huang Kaiwen's eyes lit up. The exchange rate was 1 minute and 10.3 seconds, which would amount to nearly 26 million after tax a year. That was fantastic. He never expected Milan to be so sincere. Seeing that he hadn't started writing, Ancelotti asked somewhat anxiously, "Is there something you're wondering about?" "No, I'm looking at the specific terms. If there's anything you're unhappy about, you can bring it up. By the way, what number jersey do you like?" Ancelotti asked cautiously. "Number 7 or 10, I guess." As soon as Huang Kaiwen spoke, the Milan locker room fell silent. Milan's number 7 jersey belongs to the team's president, Andriy Shevchenko. Even if you are a genius, you can't take Shevchenko's jersey away. The owner of the number 10 jersey is also very famous, namely Portuguese star Rui Costa. 3 years ago, Rui Costa joined AC Milan for a record €42 million, the largest transfer expenditure in AC Milan's history. Ancelotti's smile froze on his lips, a hint of self-reproach for his sharp tongue. Seeing this, Maldini said directly, "Don't worry about signing the contract. I'll call them for you and ask. They'll definitely make you satisfied. If not, I'll give you number 3. Huang Kaiwen was shocked. Is Maldini trying to harm him? What right does he have to steal Maldini's jersey? You know, this number 3 jersey will be retired along with Maldini after he retires. This number is the most meaningful number in Milan, and only members of the Maldini family will be able to take over wearing number 3 in the future. After Huang Kaiwan signed the contract, the system issued a notification. Mission completed, signed with a top G14 club. All ailments cleared from the body, health restored. System is about to update to the official version, estimated update time, 72 hours. However, Huang Kaiwan felt nothing. Because he originally had liver cancer, he didn't feel anything. He only experienced pain in the liver area and died quickly in the late stage. He was also relatively young, so he didn't show any symptoms at all. If it weren't for a physical examination, it would have been impossible to find out. Now that his life was no longer in danger, he happily joined the Milan players for a meal. Originally, Ancelotti wanted to switch to Chinese food to accommodate him, but Huang Kaiwan refused. If he receives an exorbitant annual salary right after joining the team, wouldn't giving him all sorts of privileges make him a thorn in everyone's side? No matter how outstanding a newcomer is, they should not try to stand out. There are countless old sayings like, the tallest tree in the forest will be felled by the wind, which are all wisdom from our ancestors. Besides, once his trial period expires and he becomes a salary thief, he'll face severe discrimination for all the privileges he enjoyed in the early stages. Therefore, he not only doesn't need special privileges, but he also needs to learn from Carlos Caesar and become the most popular player on the team. He just often takes his teammates to pick up girls, that's all. During dinner that evening, Huang Kaiwan flattered the Milan players, which improved their impression of him considerably. He went home to pack his things, and when they met again the next day, Maldini brought him good news: Rui Costa has agreed to switch to the number 14 jersey. On the same day, Ancelotti and AC Milan couldn't wait and held a press conference in Shanghai before even boarding the plane. The entire press conference venue was packed with reporters, and even the entrance was crowded with people. Kevin Huang and Carlo Ancelotti signed the prepared contract, went through the motions, and then the two of them held up a red and black striped jersey with Kevin Huang's name on it. End of this chapter. Chapter 5: A historic moment. Huang is a talented kid. No, he's a genius. I don't know why he hasn't received professional football training and yet he performs like this. His talent is probably even more terrifying than it appears. Everyone at AC Milan and I are very happy that he has joined the team. This is a great day, historic moment, and he will definitely become an important part of Milan's brilliant history. The stage lights flashed everywhere, as if film was free. Compared to such big news, the $2 for the film negative is really nothing. After the initial excitement and subsequent disappointment of the 2002 World Cup, and with the increasing disappointment of the last 2 years, Chinese football desperately needs a savior. Everyone watched yesterday's match. Both Huang Kaiwan's entrance and his displayed ability excited the reporters. Huang Kaiwan's sharp dribbling skills, explosive speed, strong physical strength, and accurate passing and assists, even though it was only a 20-minute game, surprised some veteran fans. After a day of public discussion, almost the entire country now knows about this person. The video of that match, especially the 2 times Huang Kaiwan appeared, is still being repeatedly played on Dongfang TV. Huang Kaiwan was very accommodating and accepted the interview, answering all the questions. Excuse me, how old are you this year? 21 years old, 1 year after graduating from university. 21 years old. You don't look it. And why did you graduate so early? How were your studies? Huang Kaiwan rolled his eyes. What does it matter if you're good at studying or not? Besides, his parents are university professors, so skipping grades isn't unusual for them. Journalists these days have absolutely no professionalism and lack logical thinking skills. It's all right, Huang Kaiwan said vaguely. I graduated from Beijing Institute of Technology. As for being young, maybe it's because of good genes. My parents are professors, so graduating early isn't a problem. In fact, I started learning junior high school courses when I was very young. If they weren't worried about not being able to build relationships with older students, they probably would have sent me to junior high school when I was less than 10 years old. Elementary school level courses are not difficult for smart children. The original owner inherited all the advantages of her parents. The only problem was the cancer gene on her mother's side of the family. Otherwise, she would definitely be a big winner in life. Okay, so have you received any professional football training? Another reporter asked, grabbing the microphone. No, I only attended a soccer summer camp when I was very young. Then why are you able to play so well? He asked the question that everyone had. Maybe this is talent, Huang Kaiwen remarked, shaking his head in a way that made the reporters grit their teeth in frustration. What are your thoughts on joining AC Milan? Huang Kaiwen thought for a moment and organized his thoughts before saying, AC Milan has a great history. I've always been a Milan fan. Of course, I like many teams because I like teams that play well, and AC Milan is exactly that kind of team. Maldini, Stam, Kaká, Shevchenko. This team has the foundation to win everything, and I also want to be a winner. Joining AC Milan would be the best thing ever. I wish you great success. Do you have a girlfriend? Reporters gradually shifted their focus back to him personally. The allure of football itself was less than that of the star's personal life, and since Huang Kaiwen hadn't played many matches yet, they were more interested in his private life. Huang Kaiwen answered all questions without showing any aversion. The press conference lasted for more than an hour before it ended after being reminded by the press officer. If we don't leave now, we'll miss our flight. We'll have to stay and wait with Dao Lang for the number 2 bus on the 11th floor. The group quickly headed to the airport to rejoin the main force. AC Milan opted for a luxurious chartered plane for their travels. They are not yet the team that can buy a key player for €2 million. After the plane took off, Karazieri approached Huang Kaiwen and asked, I heard that Chinese girls are very nice, is that right? Yes, that's right. What a pity, otherwise I could have come along and traveled around, sighed the playboy Karazieri, who had planned to relax before coming. Huang Kaiwen was somewhat relieved that his schedule in Milan was relatively tight. Although he was aware of the need to maintain good relationships with his teammates, he never considered leading them to cause trouble in the country. That was his principle. Anyone who led white trash to cause trouble was a traitor. Then, the teammates asked some questions that they were particularly interested in. For example, Maldini came to China with Milan more than 10 years ago. Everyone had a good impression of China. They couldn't say they were completely satisfied, but they could feel the sincerity and the enthusiasm of the fans. Seeing the lively scene, Ancelotti gave his assistant coach a look. His teaching assistant stood up and clapped his hands, reminding them, guys, this is a long flight. If you don't want to feel too uncomfortable afterward, you'd better rest on the plane. The flight time from Shanghai to Milan is 12 to 13 hours. After landing, the estimated time is around 10 p.m. Having finally found some peace and quiet, Huang Kaiwen put on an eye mask to rest. There have been so many things going on these past few days. After the coaching staff called him, they kindly took him to the hotel in a private car. The assistant coach added, in a few days, club staff will take you to see apartments. While you're playing in Milan, the club will cover your rent. The club will also pay you a portion of your salary in advance so you can have money to live in Milan. Hearing about such generous treatment, Huang Kaiwen silently grinned, unsure of what to say. I doubt Kaká even received such good treatment back then. He performed so well that day in order to be signed that AC Milan has now raised their expectations for him. This caused Huang Kaiwen some distress. I should have held back a bit. Don't be fooled by AC Milan's current VIP treatment of him. Once he's been resting on a stretcher for a while, he'll likely face a severe backlash. If it weren't for his contract, he'd probably run away already. End of this chapter. Chapter 6, Rising to the Position of Prince Consort of Milan. The next morning, Huang Kaiwen received a call from a club staff member. He didn't pay any attention to the fact that it was a woman. After washing up and having a simple breakfast at the hotel, I waited for more than an hour before the other party called again to ask me to come downstairs. Huang Kaiwen was somewhat speechless. The Italian sense of time really left him speechless. They called early in the morning, and then didn't arrive for more than 2 hours. Did they think they were Kakashi Hitaki? Somewhat annoyed, he went downstairs and saw someone who was completely unexpected. To make sure he hadn't mistaken someone for someone else, he stood by the car and looked at it a few more times. It's very impolite to stare at women like that. The other person was criticizing him, but the tone was tinged with amusement, making it sound more like flirting. Huang Kaiwen was a little confused. Hey, what are you daydreaming about? Get in the car. Oh. Sitting in the passenger seat, he turned and tentatively asked, Miss Barbara Berlusconi? You recognized me? Upon hearing this, Huang Kaiwen realized he hadn't made a mistake. Why is this young lady here accompanying him to look at houses? Brazil is also one of his favorite teams, and knowing the Brazilian prodigy Pato means he knows you, Barbara. Didn't you say club staff were coming? Huang Kaiwen asked cautiously, unsure of her purpose. Well, I'm not exactly a club employee, but I was right there when the coach made the call. I was curious about a genius with a salary of 2.5 million euros, and I heard that you hadn't received any professional training before and had been studying all the time, which is amazing, so I came. Huang Kaiwen silently grinned. The figure of 2.5 million euros is really ridiculous. I was intimidated by the salary in the contract and felt guilty, so I didn't dare to haggle too much. I should have asked for 2.51 million euros or 2.49 million euros. The 250 meme may not exist in Europe, but if he continues to lie low for a long time, flirting with nurses in hospitals or watching games from the stands, his salary will eventually become a basis for attacks by Inter Milan fans in China. Damn it, that was a miscalculation. The thought of people in the Inter Milan fan club calling him Mr. 250 or 250 makes Huang Kaiwen's head buzz. They're even willing to add a 10,000 between 250 and Mr. As she turned her head while driving, Barbara noticed his pale face and asked curiously, weren't you happy to see me just now? What's wrong now? It's not because of you, Miss Berlusconi. Call me Barbara. Okay, Barbara. You still haven't told me why you're unhappy. Huang Kaiwen, the salary thief in training, naturally wouldn't discuss salary with the boss's child. He casually remarked, I'm so sad because I thought you might have a boyfriend. Squeak. Startled, Barbara slammed on the brakes. Luckily, both of them were wearing seatbelts, otherwise they would have been thrown out at that speed. She stared at him blankly, then covered her mouth and giggled, saying, You're different from the Asians I've met before. The Asians I've met before weren't this direct. That's probably because they didn't notice you, beautiful lady. Driven by a strong desire to win, Huang Kaiwen showered the boss's daughter with compliments as if they were free. He figured if he could win her over, his future would be much easier. Alright, since you're being so honest, I'll treat you to a big meal tonight. Okay, thanks. After his praise, Barbara was clearly in a good mood. While driving, she suddenly blurted out, I'm single now. Huang Kaiwen is numb. He's just a smart aleck with a sharp tongue. He never intended to sell his skills or his body to build a good relationship, he's just a soccer player. These capitalists really do have dirty blood flowing through their veins. Even this young second-generation rich kid is so cunning, offering him a salary and expecting him to work day and night. Even Ma Xiaoyun would be ashamed of himself in comparison. But thinking about it again, it's not unacceptable that he has to lie down and not play football during the day, so he can make up for it a little bit at night. After all, they received such a high salary. Barbara couldn't resist the change in his gaze. She's a year younger than Kevin Huang. Even if she has the potential to be a playboy, she's still a hidden dragon in the abyss, not yet soaring to the sky. She still has some sense of shame. If it were the experienced Barbara who met Pato, she would have driven straight to the wilderness for thrills. However, she appreciated Huang Kaiwen's attitude and became very attentive when helping him find a house. After looking at several places with the real estate agent without finding anything satisfactory, Barbara suggested, why don't you stay near my place? It's a really nice area. No, thank you. Which working person wants to live next door to their boss? Especially him, the king of football, who was planning to slack off. Alright then, what kind of house do you think would be suitable? It doesn't need to be too big, just a small yard would be ideal. When I'm resting, when I'm injured, I can plant some flowers to cultivate my mind. It just needs to be manageable by myself, Huang Kaiwen said. It's too easy. I prefer swimming, I can't live without a swimming pool. Fine, you decide. Anyway, she doesn't have to spend her own money. Renting a house costs too much, so this young lady should be able to solve that problem. The real estate agent with the Mediterranean hairstyle realized that Barbara was the one who made the decision, and then took them to see 2 more luxury villas. Barbara made the decision to rent a luxury house not far from Milanello. The monthly rent is €18,000. The mansion has 7 bedrooms, 3 living rooms, a large garden with a fountain, a swimming pool and a mini golf course. With the owner's consent, the golf course can be converted into a mini soccer field so that Huang Kaiwan can train at home. To ensure housing security for the next few years and prevent her from being evicted from a small apartment due to his absences, Huang Kaiwan encouraged Barbara to sign a 3-year rental contract. However, the rent did not need to be paid in full at once. His reasoning was that rents in a metropolis like Milan would definitely rise in the future. The young lady thought his words made sense and was a thrifty person, so she signed a 3-year contract directly. After finishing his business, Barbara, a local, drove him to Osteria La Vogliera restaurant, which looked quite charming. The decor wasn't luxurious, but simple, accented with key elements like Cupid figures and flowers everywhere, clearly targeting couples. During the visit, Barbara also ordered 2 bottles of red wine. Sima Zhao's intentions were obvious. Alone in a foreign land, he had no chance to resist this combination of a rich second generation and an official son. Huang Kaiwan has completely let loose and embraced his true self. He got up and sat down next to Barbara, not only launching into a fierce verbal attack but also placing his hand on her smooth skin, making the owner's child blush with embarrassment during the meal. I could barely stand when I went to pay the bill. It must be said that Barbara has a very good sense of safety. She didn't drive after drinking and took the initiative to take him to the hotel. End of this chapter. Chapter 7 official version system is here. Before he was fully awake in the morning, Huang Kaiwan felt an itch in his nose. I opened my eyes and saw Barbara mischievously playing pranks with the ends of her hair. He stood up abruptly, smiling and waving. Barbara rolled her eyes at him, then moved closer. Seeing that the system hadn't reached 72 hours yet, he turned on the TV out of boredom. Meanwhile, in China, reports about him were everywhere. It should be said that the press conference held by Milan 2 days ago ignited the enthusiasm of the whole country. The video of him signing with Milan and rushing onto the field appeared in the 7 o'clock news that night. After some time, the whole country came to know about this amazing person. He graduated from university early, was considered a good student, and was also a great athlete. He didn't receive much training, yet he completely dominated AC Milan star players on the field. Chinese netizens have already begun to imagine the birth of Asia's first Ballon d'Or winner. His past, including being an orphan, a girl who wrote him love letters in junior high, and dating his college advisor, was also dug up. There was also a news item mixed in that he had cancer, but most people thought it was fake news, that the doctor was just trying to get attention, and that there was no such thing as riding the coattails of a trending topic these days. More than half an hour later, Barbara came out, then opened Huang Kaiwan's hand and fell asleep immediately. Around noon, Huang Kaiwan heard a notification in his mind, ding, the official version of the I am the king of football system is activated. Player ability, unranked, superstar trial card countdown is on for 641 hours, 22 minutes, and 41 seconds. Expectation level, 0. Fate value, 0. Skill, best actor, Tom Hanks' peak acting skills. How can a great player not know how to act? Sergio Busquets. Skill, take it. When you steal an opportunity from another player, there is a small chance to copy some of their traits. Abnormal status, vulnerable, from the moment you step onto the grass, your chance of injury increases by 100%, increasing by 1% per second. After leaving the field due to injury, your chance of injury returns to the initial level. This cycle repeats until you successfully defend your Champions League title, at which point the abnormal status is lifted. When he saw the end, Huang Kaiwan was truly dumbfounded. He doesn't even need to put on a show. The chances of him getting injured after just a few minutes on the field are off the charts, and then he'll really be spending all his time in the hospital. Is there any danger to his life if he plays football? If he were to actually get kicked in the head, wouldn't he become like Peter Cech too? Even worse, if he were kicked 3 points below the navel, wouldn't he become the last eunuch in China? The conditions for resolving the abnormal state are also a bit outrageous. Since the Champions League was restructured, no team has been able to defend its title. He then immediately realized that AC Milan truly deserved it. It's 2004 now. This year, Milan will undoubtedly reach the Champions League final, and then play a thrilling and classic match against Liverpool. The champagne celebration at halftime and the night in Istanbul have become an unhealable wound in the hearts of all Rossoneri. Whenever football programs around the world review classic comebacks, AC Milan will be dragged out and humiliated. Then, a year later, the Calciopoli scandal broke out, and AC Milan, who had been penalized with points, successfully avenged their loss to Liverpool with a phenomenal performance from Kaká, who scored 10 goals. What does this tell us? This shows that AC Milan has consistently demonstrated sufficient strength over the past 3 years, otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to reach the Champions League final twice in 3 years. As long as he can ensure that the team wins the Champions League title this year and next year, or the year after next and the year after that, he can solve the problem of abnormal form and no longer worry. This truly reflects Bill Shankly's saying, "Football is not about life or death, football is more important than life or death." Well, it's a bit difficult. However, there is at least hope. If he joins Real Madrid or Arsenal, it will be a long time before he can get out of his abnormal form. A mediocre player can't possibly wait until Zidane is coaching Real Madrid. As for Arsenal, let's not even talk about them. Looking at it this way, it really seems like fate that he came to play for Milan. After figuring things out, Huang stopped worrying about his abnormal condition. After getting injured on stage, he didn't have to perform, which saved him some trouble. Otherwise, it would have been easy for his condition to be exposed when he went off stage for a checkup. The era of Carlos Kaiser is over, times have changed, sir. Here you go with your new skills, he said, somewhat bewildered. The main problem was that Huang didn't understand what opportunity meant. The sports channel couldn't very well steal away rare and precious treasures, could it? Having another skill is always a good thing, we'll take it one step at a time. Below the expectation value is a note, everyone refers to the expectations of everyone, including fans, players, coaches, and reporters. It's similar to the incense offerings and vows in cultivation, and this expectation is quantified. Once it reaches 100, it's full, and you can draw a trial card for a single match to prevent this slacker from being exposed. That's quite reasonable. As for fate points, they are relatively difficult to obtain. Fate points are precious points earned after completing system-issued tasks or actively changing the fate of other football professionals. The amount of destiny points gained depends primarily on the strength of the influence on the other party's destiny. If you help someone achieve great success in their career, you might receive a gift from the person whose life has been changed, but what that gift might be is unknown. Without even needing a system-generated task, Huang with his years of experience writing over 100 million words, knew that keeping his teammate Kaká from getting seriously injured and allowing him to continue his phenomenal career, and forcibly turning the peerless duo into the oath of the Peach Garden, would grant him a lot of fate points. It's hard to dislike a player like Kaká. Handsome and devout, with superb ball skills. If possible, Huang is also willing to help Kaká, especially since they are teammates now. But he didn't know how to help Kaká. This isn't something you can just decide on a whim or offer a few words of advice to prevent Kaká from dying prematurely. If you can't figure it out, then don't think about it. Anyway, the initial goal of survival has already been achieved. Huang was quite happy. He signed a 5+1 contract with AC Milan, guaranteeing him at least €12.5 million in salary in the future. There might be no bonuses for goals or assists, but there will definitely be a championship bonus. He can easily earn €15 million after completing one contract with Milan. Even entertainment stars of the same period can't compare to him. What more could he want? In a great mood, Huang ordered 2 lunches and called Barbara to have lunch after they arrived. During dinner, Barbara asked, "When would you like to make your debut at San Siro?" "Hey, can I choose myself?" Huang didn't expect there to be such a thing. The sooner he appears, the better. Otherwise, if the trial card expires, he can't just kick the ball into the stands after he goes on the field. Of course. Barbara said softly, "Just don't rush it, otherwise there won't be enough time to prepare. Let's do it before the European Championship. I can't wait to meet the fans." Good. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. You have a new system email, please check it. After lunch. After a short rest, Huang Kaiwan was pulled out of the hotel by Barbara. He has absolutely no desire to shop. Shopping with a woman is a pretty terrifying thing. But the young lady felt that his clothes were not suitable for his status. Huang Kaiwan had no idea who he was, yet he was so noble. Why would a petty thief need to wear any special armor? As soon as the two people stepped out of the hotel, flashes of light went off from the cars across the street. Huang Kaiwan didn't seem to care. He gestured with his chin and asked, "Are you all right?" Barbara didn't say anything, but pulled him over and knocked on the car window. The paparazzi were on edge, but seeing that Barbara wouldn't give up, they rolled down their car windows. The young lady pulled out €200 from her wallet and threw it into the driver's seat, declaring domineeringly, "Make sure you take good pictures of us, this is your service fee." Kevin Huang. Mr. Paparazzi. After picking up the car, we headed straight for Via Monte Napoleone. Via Monte Napoleone, the most important and luxurious area of Milan's quadrilateral fashion street, is not a shopping mall, but rather a street that brings together all kinds of top international brands. The street is lined with boutiques offering a wide variety of brands and products. Located near the Milan Cathedral in the heart of Milan's commercial district, it's filled with sports cars, so Barbara's car doesn't stand out at all when parked. Just based on the environment, Huang Kaiwan knew this place wouldn't be cheap. Valentino, Ferragamo, Loewe, Celine, Van Cleef and Amp, are pals. He knew some of these stores, but he had never seen others before. They were all luxury brands that he had only glimpsed online before. A piece of clothing costing thousands or tens of thousands of yuan, or even more, is never his cup of tea. Although he is now quite wealthy, cross-border payments are not very convenient, especially when it comes to exchanging foreign currency. He rushed out of the country with Milan and didn't have time to handle any business. It's fair to say he can't spend all the money he has in China. He hasn't received the salary the club advanced him yet. Today, Huang is destined to spend a woman's money. Huang Kaiwan never cared about such trivial matters. He firmly supported gender equality, believing that if women could spend men's money, men could spend women's money, and it was up to each man to decide who spent whose money. "I used to be just a typist, without a handsome face, I couldn't make a living. Now, I've finally been rewarded. It's truly a blessing from heaven." After entering the store, I didn't encounter any ridiculous incidents like being looked down upon. It was something he was rather disappointed about. I've written countless stories like this before, but today, with the protection of a second-generation official, he has nowhere to vent his anger, which doesn't satisfy his perverse tastes at all. Try this one. Barbara handed Huang Kaiwan a black casual suit jacket, the price tag of €2,800 fully demonstrating the value of Fendi, an Italian brand. After he put it on, Huang Kaiwan felt it was pretty good, but Barbara frowned and said, "It doesn't suit you, change into this one." It's black again. He couldn't tell the difference between the two suit jackets at all. Immediately afterwards, Huang Kaiwan became the clothes hanger. Barbara kept taking out new clothes for him to try on, then he would change out and try them on again. A few hours later, after spending tens of thousands of euros on 2 new outfits, the young lady finally took him to the movie theater, completely satisfied. Having arrived at his home turf, Huang Kaiwan naturally wouldn't hold back. Mr. Liu said, "Darkness gave us black eyes, but I used them to seek the light." In this pitch-black environment, he began to look for bright spots. Ugh, how annoying. Unable to contain her surprise, Barbara gave Huang Kaiwan a playful scolding, but did not make him remove his hand. She shifted her body slightly, which actually made it easier for Huang Kaiwan to move. As the movie's plot unfolded, Barbara broke out in a sweat, biting her lip in worry for the protagonist's predicament. Huang Kaiwan couldn't understand why a comedy could be so thrilling. When the movie ended, he carried the young lady out. He approached Barbara and offered to help her tidy up her place, then shamelessly followed her back to the newly rented villa. Dinner was cooked by Huang Kaiwan again. That night, listening to the creaking of the bed, he felt that Barbara had definitely overpaid by paying €18,000 a month. Milan announced that it will hold a fan meet and greet at the San Siro on Sunday for its newly signed Chinese prodigy Kevin Huang. It is reported that the 21-year-old Kevin Huang has not received any football training. He is not even a sports major in college. However, he rushed into the stadium during Milan's China tour and showed unparalleled talent. A Milan spokesperson said that the team only took 1 second to consider signing him and decided to give him a big contract. No player in history has ever had a first professional contract of this level. Judging from the video from that day, he was indeed a genius who defied all logic. However, what was worrying was that he met Barbara Berlusconi on his second day in Milan, and the two of them stayed at his hotel that night. According to the reactions from the next room, the two of them practically wanted to tear the hotel down. I must say, Kevin Huang has overturned my impression of Asians. He seems more like a South American or European. This makes me even more worried. Will he, like the equally talented Gascoigne, be ruined by women and alcohol? Inside a restaurant where AC Milan fans were gathered, someone read out a commentary from today's Gazzetta dello Sport. The fans who had gathered nearby immediately started arguing. Damn it, this newspaper must have been bought off by Inter Milan. I've seen that kid play on TV, he's a super talent. If he really falls from grace, it must be because our opponents hired a sorcerer to curse him. A tall, thin fan said angrily. Mbappe, I think you're right and we hired a wizard to fight back. The chubby fan at the same table put the last bit of egg into his mouth and mumbled, everyone knows what kind of person our boss is, and it seems his daughter is too. That girl has a lot of scandals. I'm more worried that she'll drain our new player dry and turn him into a spineless wimp. Let's think about the positive possibilities. Maybe he won't have any problems. You know how Gazzetta dello Sport likes to make up stories and exaggerate the dangers. That kid will lead us to the championship with Kaká and Shevchenko. Some of the things in the newspapers are true. I didn't even know that Chinese people could play football. Andrew, you must be an idiot, because the Chinese team participated in the World Cup 2 years ago, the one where we were eliminated by referees bribed by the South Koreans. Yes, I remember now. The Chinese really should keep a closer eye on the Koreans. When will they be able to take this place back like Hong Kong? Even before making his first appearance on the field, Kevin Huang has already become a sensation among local fans in a different way. Some Chinese fans have high hopes for you, expectations rise by 1. Local fans are worried about your future while also expecting you to become a top star, their expectations are increased by 5. End of this chapter. Chapter 9, Ronaldinho would cry if he read this. Upon waking up in the morning, Huang Kaiwan heard a system notification and saw a system email. He then noticed the expectations and fate points he had gained. That's right, there's also the fate value. The fate of Barbara, one of the key figures in AC Milan's future management, and the fate of rising star Pato were slightly altered. Click below to reveal your destiny. The scene appeared immediately. After meeting Barbara, her standards for a partner became much higher. She finds it difficult to date the same man twice. Barbara became increasingly disillusioned with men, even losing faith in them. She started dating women. Barbara and Pato will never have any interaction. Her original 5 children will not be born. She and her girlfriend opted for IVF, resulting in a boy. Barbara named him Kevin Huang Berlusconi, which made her girlfriend jealous, leading to their breakup. She then focused on her child's education. Kevin, a mixed-race boy, is very intelligent. During his university years, he created an AR gaming device that became a global sensation, founded a company, and made a fortune. He even acquired AC Milan from Americans. Barbara lived to the age of 90 and passed away peacefully surrounded by Kevin's descendants. Seeing this, Huang Kaiwan was completely stunned. He never imagined that their acquaintance would have such a significant impact. However, Pato's fate did not unfold, and he was likely destined to remain fragile. It was only because Barbara wasn't interested in him when he arrived in Milan that Pato's romantic history was slightly altered. The two people provided Huang Kaiwan with a total of 1.5 destiny points. Barbara's drastically altered fate provides 1 point, while Pato's change in romantic history alone provides 0.5 points. It seems the fate of star athletes is indeed more valuable. As for Barbara, Huang Kaiwan felt guilty for a second before realizing that this was not his fault. If possible, be kind to her. After waking up, the young lady was captivated by Huang Kaiwan's gentle advances. In the afternoon, club staff waited at the entrance for more than 2 hours before they finally saw Huang Kaiwen. When you have time, open a bank account, and the club will transfer your advance salary to you. You'd better get plenty of rest and don't embarrass yourself when you meet the fans at San Siro, the coaching staff member said, glancing at Barbara, who was hugging Huang Kaiwen's neck behind the chair. However, this remark angered the young lady. Before Sunday, neither of them left the bedroom much. Sunday, June 6, 2004. More than 32,000 fans flocked to San Siro Square to attend Kevin Huang's unveiling ceremony. They had also seen that brief appearance on television, and Kevin Huang displayed exceptional talent. There are also all sorts of messy rumors lately, like the new signing salary of $5 million and the 50-hour battle with Barbara, which are all factors that attracted them to San Siro today. Standing in the players' tunnel, Huang Kaiwen could hear the fans singing outside. Milan, Milan, we only support you, Milan, Milan, forever for you. We walk beside the heroes, on the grass, under the blue sky, they have won another star. Milan's anthem is melodious, and although the fans' chanting wasn't very synchronized, it made one imagine the scene of tens of thousands of people supporting and advocating for you. Even before he's on the field, Huang Kaiwen is eager to go out and meet the fans. Hey, it'll be a while, a club staff member said, patting him on the shoulder. All right. In the center of the stadium, the team owner, the club manager, Benitez, and cyclist Gatos took turns speaking in a perfunctory manner. After they finished their rambling, the DJ finally called out Huang Kaiwen's name. As I stepped out of the tunnel, I was greeted by fans whose enthusiasm was several times greater than before. Huang Kaiwen was highly suspicious, and they desperately wanted the two bald men to shut up. After taking the microphone, he waved his right hand and said to the fans, "Hello, Rossoneri." Boom. The fans in the stands, wearing red and black striped shirts, responded by waving their hands wildly. I've always been a Milan fan, and Barisi is my idol. I haven't met him yet, which is a bit of a shame, but I believe he'll hear my name soon. I also like Maldini. I've met Paolo before, and he's a great guy. I'm happy to be playing alongside such a great player, and I'm full of confidence for the new season. Huang Kaiwen, holding a microphone, walked towards the soccer ball. Club staff saw this and immediately came over to reach out. However, Huang Kaiwen pulled the ball away but didn't hand him the microphone. The fans thought it was a good-natured joke and burst into laughter. Unexpectedly, Huang Kaiwen immediately started singing, Milan, Milan, I only want to support you, Milan, Milan, forever for you. But while singing, he was also juggling the ball. The ball bounces to almost the exact same height each time. After a brief silence, San Siro erupted completely. Barbara, watching the figure on the green field from the stands, felt a tenderness in her eyes, as if she had met her soulmate. Fans have never seen such an arrogant greeting ceremony. Just moments ago, Huang Kaiwen was simply juggling the ball, but with a little more force, he kicked the ball more than 2 meters high. Then he started using his head and shoulders in coordination with his feet, and the most amusing thing was that his singing hadn't stopped. Even when Maradona first appeared in Napoli, he wasn't this flashy. The fans joined in singing loudly. The Milan team anthem resounded throughout the city. Even fans of their city rivals were stunned when they watched the live broadcast. AC Milan has probably signed a big shot. The 5 crew members who flew in from China specifically to film the incident were stunned upon receiving the news. Just when they thought Huang Kaiwen's game was over, he unexpectedly juggled the ball towards the goal. The stride length of each step and the height of each ball bounce were almost exactly the same. This amazing ball control was so good that Shevchenko could fit an apple in his mouth while watching TV at home. I doubt even Ronaldinho is that strong. Are you from a circus? Singing while bouncing around like that. Even Shevchenko admitted that he had probably never seen a player with such excellent ball control. That's so damn unfair. He really didn't expect that the team's new signings would be much stronger than he thought. Ancelotti was ecstatic, his eyes practically glued to his chubby face, fantasizing about Kevin Huang dominating the season and leading Milan to an unprecedented treble in Italian football history. Just when everyone thought this was the limit, Huang Kaiwen stopped outside the penalty area. Then he juggled the ball up and swung it in midair. The moment he kicked the ball, the fans thought it was over. After all, most unveiling ceremonies involve simply shooting the ball into the goal and that's it. Unexpected. Duong. The ball hit the crossbar and bounced back. The most amusing thing was that Huang Kaiwen, who was standing still singing, didn't move. He easily caught the ball with his foot, and then he juggled it up again and volleyed it into the air. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. I bet 30 million on Germany to win. Huang Kaiwen volleyed the ball again, and after its flight, it hit the bottom of the left post and returned to his feet. Then, another kick. In the middle of the left pillar, Duong. After the ball returned, another shot hit the top of the left post, voila. Then another kick landed at the junction of the left post and the crossbeam, slightly higher in the corner, thud. The entire stadium was stunned. What a genius player. Not to mention them, the players and coaches watching the live broadcast of today's unveiling ceremony on Berlusconi's television station were stunned. Some players couldn't resist running to their own gardens with the ball, wanting to give it a try. But after only a couple of kicks, not only could the ball not move and hit exactly where you wanted it, but the rebound force of the ball was also difficult to control, making it impossible to catch. After climbing the left pillar, Huang Kaiwen started climbing the crossbeam. He was very happy today when he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his toe. However, as Milan's new king of showing off, he had to finish what he started. Without making a sound, he switched to his left foot and continued from the middle of the crossbar to the right. Duong, then to the right again. Duong, the crossbar and the post met. Duong, all the way to the bottom of the right post, where the ball bounced back. He kicked the ball high into the sky. Although the singing was the same this time, he moved the ball. After the ball went up into the air, due to the wind, even someone with unparalleled ball control couldn't make it land in the same spot. At most, it would land nearby. Singing the AC Milan anthem, Huang Kaiwen took 2 steps back to adjust his position, and then launched another volley. In order to shoot the ball into the stands without injuring the fans, he deliberately kicked it high with a dipping shot technique. Even Juninho Jr. could not replicate Huang Kaiwen's shot while in the air. With the added bonuses of the strongest attributes from various top-tier stars, Huang Kaiwen achieved this. He not only did it, but he did it perfectly. The stands were on a slope, and his kick sent the ball climbing upwards. When it reached the 3rd level, it began to fall, landing directly in the arms of a young fan. The little girl, who looked like a doll, was surprised by the unexpected gift. She immediately hugged the soccer ball and shouted excitedly. The fans who had wanted to snatch the ball saw that it was a child who had gotten it and felt embarrassed to try. San Siro erupted in cheers once again. Milan, Milan, I only want to support you, Milan, Milan, forever for you. After Huang Kaiwen sang the last line for the 12th time, the whole audience cheered wildly. Milan fans chanted his name in unison. Kevin. 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 The unveiling ceremony lasted an hour, and Huang Kaiwen's performance during his self-introduction was extremely satisfying. It was absolutely unprecedented and will never be repeated, the most spectacular unveiling ceremony in the entire football world. Having been a player himself, Ancelotti watched Huang Kaiwen's performance and felt his own assessment was somewhat conservative. This season's unprecedented treble, plus the European Super Cup next season, would make it a quadruple. If possible, they could even achieve a Champions League three-peat, replicating Real Madrid's early Champions League miracle. He reached the pinnacle of his life, but he could no longer marry a beautiful and wealthy woman. Just imagining himself standing at the Zurich Opera House for several consecutive years, receiving the world's best coach award, makes Ancelotti feel like his heart is about to explode. Who would have thought that in this day and age, talented players would actually come knocking on your door? Ancelotti even began to doubt whether he was God's most favored son. When Huang Kaiwen handed the microphone to the staff and walked towards the players' tunnel, everyone in the club looked at him differently. In competitive sports, strength is the most important factor. If a big name in a football club has a bad temper, he can even control the club president. Nobody wants to offend a superstar who is clearly visible to the naked eye. Their attitude towards Huang Kaiwen was ridiculously good. Kevin, would you like to tour the club? You didn't report for duty earlier. Since you're a Milan fan, I'm sure you'll be interested in Milan's trophy room. Sorry, I have an appointment with Barbara. Hearing his words, the staff member felt it was extremely unfair. The team's newest player is not only handsome and good at football, but he also started dating the owner's daughter as soon as he joined the team. We're all human, so why is there such a big difference between us? Oh right, I'll go open a bank account later and tell the finance department to transfer my salary to me today. Huang Kaiwen, who was about to leave, gave a reminder. Although spending Barbara's money is nice, it forcibly binds him and Barbara together. Besides, having money doesn't stop him from spending women's money. You can spend other people's money, but you must have your own. Watched by several staff members, Huang Kaiwen got into Barbara's Mercedes. He immediately heard the system notification. Ding! A perfect debut. The system is about to be upgraded to the deluxe edition of the I Am the King of Football system. Estimated upgrade time, 168 hours. Kevin Huang. This looks like one of his novels called My System Has Infinite Upgrades. The system has already been upgraded twice before a single official match has even been played. Are there going to be a Super Deluxe version, a Pro version, a Plus version, and a Pro Max version later on? But whatever. Even without the system, he's still very happy right now. Now that his life was no longer in danger, he was truly fearless. Honey, you're amazing. Did you hear that? The whole stadium is mesmerized by you. You're practically the god of San Siro. Barbara exclaimed excitedly, completely oblivious to any implied meaning. Seeing that she wasn't even wearing a seatbelt, Huang Kaiwen leaned over to help her fasten it, and casually gave her a pat. Ugh, this is still right in front of the stadium. Barbara asked coquettishly, where are we going? Let's open a bank account and get the club to transfer the money to me as soon as possible. Okay. Barbara obeyed and drove off immediately. Huang Kaiwen previously said that sports cars are uncomfortable to sit in, so she switched to a coupe today. Barbara was a VIP, so her transactions were processed quickly. After the two of them came out of the bank, Barbara saw Huang Kaiwen looking at the shops next door and said, because the European Cup is about to start, they are all trying to attract fans to place bets. Are you interested in this too? Well enough. Huang Kaiwen gave a vague answer, saying that his heart was pounding when he saw Greece's score was 1 hour 77 minutes. But the club's money hadn't arrived yet, and he didn't want to talk to Barbara about it. Okay, let's go back then. On the way back, Huang Kaiwen was absent-minded. Because he saw a huge fortune right in front of him. Greece will miraculously win this year's European Championship. Otto Rehagel, who once created the Kaiserslautern miracle, will lead Greece to a miraculous European Championship title in the next month, making it arguably the most unexpected victory in European Championship history. This victory has also elevated Otto the Great to godlike status in Greece, granting him power comparable to an emperor. If Huang Kaiwen didn't lend a hand, he would be doing himself a disservice. After all, he is a fan of Otto the Great. End of this chapter. Chapter 11 I lost 10 billion. Huang Kaiwen was preoccupied all night and didn't even sleep with Barbara. The next morning, he received a call from the club's vice president, Galliani, the champion of the Tour of Europe. Kevin, I have good news for you. Your performance yesterday has attracted a lot of attention. Okay, but Mr. Chairman, it's only 8 o'clock now. Huang Kaiwen, who suffers from insomnia, only fell asleep at 3 a.m. and has only been asleep for 5 hours so far. Vice President, Gallianican reminded him, suppressing his excitement as he advised, you are still young. Young people should be more restrained, otherwise you will retire early like those Brazilians. Okay, if that's all you called to say, then thank you. I want to go back to sleep. By the way, Barbara and I didn't sleep together yesterday. No, don't hang up yet. Galliani quickly said, wait until you wake up at the club. Your performance yesterday attracted a lot of sponsors, and they are all very interested in your personal endorsement. Upon hearing this, Huang Kaiwen perked up. That would be great if someone came to give me money. Have the sponsors arrived yet, Mr. Chairman? They've all arrived, flying in from all over Europe. They all want to sign you. Okay, I'll be right there. I can't believe it, Huang Kaiwen said excitedly. He had previously worried about not having enough money to bet on Greece, but now that someone was giving him money, he was a little concerned about whether William Hill could afford to keep his betting slips. "Barbara, wake up." Huang Kaiwan went to the master bedroom, pulled back the covers, and patted the young lady's most shapely spot. "Ugh, I didn't sleep well at all yesterday." Barbara grabbed Huang Kaiwan and dragged him onto the bed, pulling him off. Huang Kaiwan could only silently apologize to Jia Tu, saying, "It's not that I, Huang, am not punctual." At noon, when they arrived at the club, they saw many people in the team's meeting room. Galliani stood up and told him, "They're all from the brands. The club has already hired a lawyer for you. As a big star, you need to find an agent. I know a pretty good guy, I'll introduce you to him later." Okay, thank you." Huang Kaiwan nodded, but he would not accept the agent introduced by Jia Tu. It's uncertain how many more years he can play for Milan. Getting too entangled with Milan's manager, Berlusconi, is not a good thing. It was a bit strange that Galliani had called all the sponsors together, but then Huang Kaiwan realized why. Jia Tu is really cunning. When everyone's together, it's like a bidding war. No wonder the old guy can ride a bicycle all over Europe to sign players on a free transfer. After a brief introduction to the lawyer the club had hired to handle his contract, the lawyer, Sampaoli, advised him, "You must not agree to their terms lightly. After yesterday's appearance, everyone is convinced that you will show unparalleled strength once the season begins, so your treatment should be about the same as Zidane's, even if it's not as good as his." Oh well. Huang Kaiwan never expected that the outside world would have such high expectations of him. There must be a lot of anticipation. Speaking of the injury to his toe yesterday, he was speechless for a moment. It's really easy to get injured like this. If it were a real match with physical contact, it probably wouldn't be such a minor injury. "We at Adidas are a sponsor of AC Milan, so we hope to sign a personal sponsorship contract with you. Adidas is willing to sign you for 5 years at €1.2 million per year." The guy who looked distinctly Germanic was the first to speak. "Heh," someone immediately scoffed, "I didn't expect you to react so quickly this time, but the money you offered is too little. Nike is willing to sign you as their personal ambassador for €2.5 million for 3 years, with an annual increase of 10%. After 3 years, your ambassadorship contract will be re-evaluated according to the market price." There's no sincerity at all. Sampaoli covered his mouth and said in a low voice, "You have a huge Asian market behind you. China alone can make them a lot of money. It's understandable that China didn't have any star players worth signing before, but considering the size of your country's market, your endorsement fee should be the highest in the football world." "Okay, you handle it." Huang Kaiwan nodded calmly. In his previous life, he was a shut-in writer who had never experienced such a scene. This lawyer seemed reliable, so let the professionals handle it. Because of Huang Kaiwan's request, Sampaoli helped him secure brands that could pay immediately. Finally, they signed endorsement deals with more than 20 brands, including Nike, Castrol, Citibank, Coca-Cola, Pro Evolution Soccer, Fendi, and Gatorade, covering all aspects of life, from clothing and food to housing and transportation. He immediately received a payment of over €7 million, and after these people communicated with their superiors, they would make further payments to him. In addition to the €1 million and €200,000 signing fee he received in advance from the club, he was able to raise €13.2 million today. These endorsements alone will bring him an additional €12 million in income each year in the future. Sampaoli said there will be more sponsors in the future, including those from his home country, China. His main advantage is his nationality. China, along with other Asian countries, makes his commercial value far exceed that of all European football players, and there is no substitute for him. Signing now would have already resulted in a significant loss. If they can maintain a stable performance for half a season, Sampaoli is confident he can get them to pay him double. Huang Kaiwan rolled his eyes. He was exposed after playing half a season. Milan might have even changed the locker lock in his locker room. If possible, he would rather sign a lifetime endorsement deal with them for a low price. If it weren't for this lawyer's insistence, he would have accepted Nike's 8-year contract. Anyway, thanks to his suggestion and Sampaoli's strong advocacy, his endorsement contract had no requirement for the number of appearances. Otherwise, even top European players have requirements for the number of appearances they can play in a season. Otherwise, if a player suffers a major injury and doesn't play for a whole season, the brand will lose a lot of exposure. The brand was also worried about things going wrong if things dragged on. Although there was an element of gambling involved, signing Huang Kaiwen in advance was obviously more profitable. Besides, Huang Kaiwen couldn't keep getting injured, so it didn't matter as a way to show their sincerity. After receiving the money, an excited Huang Kaiwen grabbed Barbara and headed to place a bet. Barbara stared at him, wide-eyed. "You want to buy 12 million Greek dollars?" "Yes, I trust my intuition, and I also trust Rehagel." Huang Kaiwen nodded and said. "You're absolutely insane," Barbara said, scratching her head in disbelief at Kevin Huang's crazy behavior. In her eyes, buying Greek goods was no different from giving money away. "Trust me, or I'll take a taxi myself." "Phew," Barbara sighed before speaking, "even if I believe you, you need to know that players are not allowed to participate in this kind of betting." Huang Kaiwen. "What the hell are you saying? This morning I saw that the odds for Greece were already 81. If I bet 12 million, and Greece wins the World Cup, that's 972 million euros, which is more than 10 billion yuan. Now you're telling me that players aren't allowed to bet on? Is it too late for me to retire now? If I don't bet, won't I lose 10 billion? Huang Kaiwen, who was hit hard, slumped in the passenger seat, looking like a salted fish who had lost his dreams. End of this chapter. Chapter 12. The Amazing Greek Team. Undeterred, Huang Kaiwen specifically consulted with lawyer Sangbaoli, who had left him his phone number. Sampaoli reminded him that although betting might result in a ban, if the profits were too large, the betting company would find an excuse to sue and default on the debt. Upon hearing this, his heart sank, realizing that he had no chance of winning his 10 billion. Let alone a time traveler, even if he traveled through time 10 times, he couldn't possibly remain unmoved by 10 billion in 2004. Fortunately, he remained rational. Someone else might have opted to force the purchase and simply retire. However, Huang Kaiwen's rationality told him that doing so would only cost him 12 million euros. Seeing the disappointment on Huang Kaiwen's face, Barbara felt a little sorry for him. However, even in Europe, married couples often keep their finances separate. Thinking about Huang Kaiwen's gentleness and rudeness these past few days, she couldn't help but grit her teeth and say, "You really think so highly of Greece?" Huang Kaiwen nodded. "All right then, wait for me." Barbara got out of the car and walked towards the betting station, which quickly erupted into chaos. Huang Kaiwen was humming a song in the car when Barbara finally opened the car door and showed him the betting slip in her hand. "I've saved up 2.2 million euros in pocket money over the years, and now I'm penniless and have to spend your money." Barbara slammed her head on the steering wheel and screamed hysterically, "I must be crazy to do something like this." Huang Kaiwen thought Barbara had bought something for 10 or 20,000, but he didn't expect her to go all in. He grabbed the young lady's neck and started kissing her, only letting go when Barbara slapped him with her hand. "Don't worry, you'll spend my money until you become a billionaire." Barbara's face flushed red, and her mood improved considerably when she saw the bank card that Huang Kaiwen handed her. Huang Kaiwen was also in a very good mood. Although Barbara bought it, what's hers isn't his. It seems that Huang, this gigolo, will only get happier and happier living off her. It looks like he's going to go all the way down this path. Having only known each other for a few days, the young lady listened to him and spent over 2 million yuan. That's no ordinary level of trust. After returning home, Barbara returned the bank card to him, because the young lady also had a credit card, and she had gone to work for old Bertie's company as a director, receiving not only a salary but also dividends. The first daughter also established a charity organization, but it was turned into a place for the second generation to gather and have fun. However, she has a considerable influence among the second generation in Milan. It could be said that she was born at the finish line for many people. She was born in Milan, but in reality, she was born in Rome. Even so, her trust deeply moved Huang Kaiwen. Then I repaid her properly. These past few days, aside from going out to see friends with Barbara, the two of them have been spending most of their time at home. In the end, Barbara begged Kevin Huang to buy her a game console so that the two of them wouldn't have to stay in the bedroom all the time. On June 12, 2004, just 6 days after Kevin Huang made his debut at the San Siro, the European Championship in Portugal finally kicked off. Barbara was overjoyed that Greece defeated hosts Portugal 2-1 at the Estadio do Dragão in Lisbon. 4 days later, Greece drew 1-1 with a strong Spanish team at the Bessa Stadium, which was a pleasant surprise for Greek fans, but Barbara was worried. Her secret stash of money is in Greece. 1 win and 1 draw are not enough to guarantee qualification from the group stage. To forget my troubles, I drank milk again to help me sleep. What's even more terrifying is that somehow the Gazzetta dello Sport found out about this and started mocking Barbara in the newspaper. Barbara, the daughter of the Milan owner, has decided to support Greece to win the championship. Unfortunately, the team has no chance. With Berlusconi's net worth, having a daughter like that is too much to bear. Berlusconi should start thinking about the successor soon. Barbara was soon called home by Mr. Bay. 6 days later, Greece lost 1-2 to Russia, which was even more difficult for Barbara to accept. 2.2 million is nothing to her, but she finds it hard to accept being labeled a fool. Fortunately, Russia and Spain, who were in the same group, performed poorly, and Greece advanced as the second-place team in the group. Greece's head coach Hegel was shocked to hear that Milan's Michel Berlusconi had bet 2.2 million on Greece to win. We really want to achieve good results, and we are very grateful for Ms. Berlusconi's support. She is a friend of Greece forever. Even Otto the Great himself doesn't believe Greece can win the championship. What he meant was that since you've already spent so much money, the Greeks will definitely show some goodwill. The Greek government also expressed its gratitude to Barbara. They're supporting you with real money. It's worth noting that Greece's opponent in the quarterfinals is the formidable French team. This team boasts numerous superstars such as Zidane, Henry, Trezeguet, Barthez, Pires, Lizarazu, Makelele, Thuram, and Vieira. This is a team with virtually no weaknesses and a star-studded lineup, arguably the most luxurious squad in this European Championship. The outside world has consistently held a pessimistic view of Greece. After the match started, the French team firmly controlled the situation, but the Greek counterattacks were very sharp, and the French team did not have a single shot in the first 20 minutes. Starting in the 21st minute, the French team launched a counterattack, but they were unable to break through the Greek goal. After halftime, France intensified their attack. Henry's 2 shots were unsuccessful, and just 1 minute after his second shot was caught by the opposing goalkeeper, Greece scored. In the 65th minute, Zagorakis chipped the ball over Lizarazu on the right wing and delivered a cross. With no one in front of the French goal, Charistias easily headed the ball into the net unmarked. Trailing behind, France brought on Saha and Wiltor to strengthen their attack, but shots from Henry, Saha, and Zidane failed to pose a threat. Ultimately, France lost 0-1 and was eliminated, becoming the 3rd biggest upset after Portugal's loss to Greece and Germany's draw against Latvia. After seeing the results of the competition, an excited Barbara ran away from home and returned to the villa rented by Huang Kaiwan, and another day of fierce battle ensued. Who would have thought that Greece would eliminate France, the group winner? The next morning, the tone of the reports in Gazzetta dello Sport had changed. Greece eliminated France, demonstrating remarkable willpower, and they deserved the result. However, France lacked luck in the match, otherwise, the Greeks wouldn't have emerged victorious. Reaching the semi-finals is already a good result, and the Greeks should be satisfied. They should also thank Barbara for her support. In the semi-finals, Greece will face the Czech Republic. Not too strong, but still much stronger than Greece. The Czech team has performed very well since the start of the European Championship, and the whole world is optimistic that they will send Greece home. End of this chapter. Chapter 13: The Birth of a Billionaire. Because of the European Cup, Huang Kaiwan forgot about the system upgrade. When I opened it again, it was indeed different. Huang Kaiwan heard the notification in his mind, ding, I am the king of football system deluxe edition activated, deluxe edition gift pack awarded. Player ability, unranked, superstar trial card countdown in 72 hours, 13 minutes, and 22 seconds. Physical fitness, very average. Expectation level, 70. Fate value, 3.5. Skill, best actor, Tom Hanks peak acting skills. How can a great player not know how to act? Sergio Busquets. Skill, take it. When you steal an opportunity from another player, there is a small chance to copy some of their traits. Abnormal status, vulnerable, from the moment you step onto the grass, your chance of injury increases by 100%, increasing by 1% per second. After leaving the field due to injury, your chance of injury returns to the initial level. This cycle repeats until you successfully defend your Champions League title, at which point the abnormal status is lifted. After selecting to open the gift pack, a bunch of free gifts immediately appear. Ding! Physical attributes improve to resemble those of football legend Carlos Kaiser. Ding! Skill acquired, male best friend, makes it easier to gain the friendship of women when interacting with them. Ding! Abnormal status, injury vulnerability change. From the moment you step onto the grass, your chance of injury increases by 200%, increasing by 5% per second. After leaving the field due to injury, your injury chance returns to the initial level. You will not suffer fatal injuries, and injuries will not affect your physical functions. This cycle repeats until you successfully defend your Champions League title, at which point the abnormal status will be lifted. After his physical condition improved, Huang Kaiwen went to the bathroom to look in the mirror, but his body did not change at all. You can then look at the newly added physical fitness section in the system. It has now been changed to excellent. After all, Carlos Kaiser was just bad at football, his physical attributes were excellent. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to get his first professional contract just by running. Huang Kaiwen was quite satisfied with this. As long as there was improvement, that was good. As for the new skill, male best friend, it's clearly a misunderstanding by the system. He hates male best friends the most. He always interacts with girls openly and honestly, so why would he be a male best friend? As for the last point, the change in vulnerability means that the chances of getting injured are much higher. It's like he's always on the verge of injury whenever he steps onto the field. He could form the Three Sisters of Sacrifice with Vermaelen and Diaby. Huang Kaiwen is even thinking of going to Arsenal to play. Anyway, all these injury-prone players belong to Arsenal, so he might as well just let them all suffer together. However, there is a good side to it. At least it won't be a fatal injury, and the injury won't affect the body's functions. That's good. It's just a simple injury without any aftereffects, and there's no need to fear dying on the football field. It's a lot better than the original official version. Anyway, he's a VIP in the stands. Whether he gets injured or not is not important. Even if the chance of injury is lower than it is now, what fun would he have in life if he got kicked in the head? I discovered I had gained a few more fate points. It was indeed given to me by Barbara. Barbara, one of the key figures who changed the future management of AC Milan. Click below to reveal your destiny. The scene appeared immediately. Barbara bets on Greece's victory made her a billionaire. Barbara was overjoyed and from then on obeyed your every word. You broke up because of differences in your views on marriage, but Barbara still can't forget you. She might occasionally choose to hook up with you. Your frequent injuries in Milan have led the club to prepare to offload you. Barbara was devastated by the news, because she knew there would be no chance to see him again after he left. She thought, you playboy have too many female friends, once you leave, you completely forget me. She decided to enter Milan's management and seize power. You scored the winning goal in the Champions League final again. Although you only played for 8 minutes all season, club president Barbara still decided to give you a record-breaking €8 million contract. This caused protests from fans, but her attitude was very firm. Some opposition members united, preparing to rebel against your two adulterous rule over Milan, but Barbara's subordinates discovered this in time. She successfully sidelined the management and his father, and Barbara began to wield sole power in Milan. After Ronaldo joined Real Madrid and received a sky-high annual salary, Milan immediately offered you a contract exceeding Ronaldo's by 12.5 million euros after tax. Your salary has become a burden on the entire team. To support you, Milan can only use a large number of young players, but Barbara doesn't care. At your suggestion, Milan bought many promising stars, and the team made a lot of profit from player sales. Then you renewed your contract. Barbara tried to match Messi's salary, but failed. Milan couldn't afford such a high wage. After you turned 35, you started taking pay cuts, but you played for another 10 years before retiring. After your retirement, AC Milan president Barbara gifted you a large villa in Milan to thank you for your immense contributions. Barbara lives right next door to you. Although she's often jealous, she'll still find excuses to come to your house, and in the end, you'll be bickering and arguing for the rest of your life. Huang Kaiwen was stunned when he saw this. So this is how someone who lives off a woman until the very end. To prevent him from being purged, Barbara, along with her siblings and father, staged a drama reminiscent of the TV series Empresses in the Palace to successfully seize power. This might be the ultimate example of someone who lives off a woman in history. Even Huang Kaiwen was somewhat impressed with himself. It seems that being handsome really does give you the freedom to do whatever you want. After the system was updated to the deluxe version, Huang Kaiwen's physical fitness improved significantly. Barbara exclaimed that she couldn't stand it. On July 1st, Greece faced the Czech Republic, a team boasting stars such as Čech, Nedved, Poborský, Rosicky, Barros, and Jan Koller. The Czech team had previously been on a winning streak and had performed exceptionally well. Czech national team stars have attracted considerable attention, with many top European clubs preparing to purchase Czech players. However, the two sides battled for 90 minutes without a clear winner. In extra time, Delis scored a silver goal to secure the victory and send Greece into the European Championship final. The whole of Europe gasped in astonishment. The wolf is coming. However, not many people really have high hopes for the Greek team. The other team that made it to the final is Portugal. They have the advantage of playing on home soil and possess Portugal's golden generation. The team boasts both big names like Figo and Rui Costa, as well as rising stars like Cristiano Ronaldo. Aside from a lack of attacking firepower, this Portuguese team doesn't have any major weaknesses. As for Greece, it is riddled with flaws. Making it to the European Championship is incredibly lucky for them, or maybe Barbara moved God. At this point, few people around the world believed that Greece could defeat Portugal to win the championship, but the voices mocking Barbara disappeared. Greece made it to the final and is just one step away from winning the championship. If they do win, they'll really prove you wrong. Don't be fooled by the outspokenness of Gazzetta dello Sport, other newspapers are actually even harsher. After all, Gazzetta dello Sport is owned by Berlusconi, so they still leave room for maneuver in their statements. Now they've started singing hymns in praise of Barbara. The young lady has good judgment. If she really takes over the family business one day, she'll make them look like puppets. Greece did not disappoint Barbara, and they successfully lifted the trophy at the end of the match. The whole world is amazed. This is simply a football fairy tale this summer. Of course, William Hill's CEO fainted at home, which is 81 times higher. If he knew that Huang Kaiwen planned to buy 10 million more than that, I wonder if he would just die. End of this chapter. Chapter 14. The Young Lady's Change. Greece won. Barbara's high-pitched voice carried far, and Huang Kaiwen looked pained, saying, "If you use any more force, it might break." On TV, Cristiano Ronaldo was in tears, experiencing the bitterness of defeat for the first time. But don't worry, he'll be able to cry again soon. Huang Kaiwen was not surprised at all by this result. Barbara, clinging tightly to him, was both crying and laughing. You'd think she was a Greek princess. All right, it's just winning the championship. Huang Kaiwen patted her back to comfort the agitated Barbara. Barbara's eyes were red as she looked up at Huang Kaiwen with deep affection and said, "I'll buy this villa for you tomorrow, and remember to collect the club's rent every month." Huang Kaiwen shrugged. What else could he say? Since the young lady had already stolen from his own home, he naturally strongly supported it. The club owner's daughter bought him a house to live in, and the club still pays the rent and utilities for his own house. If this were exposed by Gazzetta dello Sport, Berlusconi would probably find it hard to accept. Huang Kaiwen remembers that he seems to have a heart condition, and hopes he can stay strong. Overwhelmed by Barbara's enthusiasm, Huang Kaiwen didn't get up until the afternoon of the next day. He specifically checked and found that William Hill earns over £200 million a year, so they probably wouldn't default on their debts, but it would definitely hurt. He hoped they would learn from their mistake. If they didn't, Huang Kaiwen would choose to retire early and teach Leicester City a lesson back then, betting on football and becoming a major shareholder. When William Hill took Barbara to receive the award in the afternoon, he was already well prepared and had even hired many reporters for publicity. That's capitalists for you. When losses are unavoidable, they'll choose to maximize profits. Turning €2.2 million into €178.2 million, could there be a better gimmick? Barbara is now a living advertisement for the myth of getting rich through football. They plan to trick a bunch of gamblers into betting on major upsets in the league so they can recoup their losses. Leagues are not as prone to upsets as cup competitions. They require long-term stability. Even if a small team's main squad has a breakout performance, if the substitutes can't keep up during rotations and injuries, they still can't win the title. That's why people talk about the Kaiserslautern miracle. If miracles were so easy to happen, they wouldn't be miracles. Usually, when a small team has a breakout performance, the best they can do is get a European qualification spot. Moreover, the league is highly manipulable. Before the Calciopoli scandal, it was not easy for Italian football to overthrow the Holy Alliance, formed by Juventus and Milan. Leagues like La Liga can even offer third-party bonuses to allow rivals to target title contenders. In short, even if they suffer a great loss this time, they have a way to make it back. Therefore, the staff did not make things difficult for Barbara when she was redeeming her prize. On the contrary, they served her with smiles and sincerity. Even after receiving the check, the young lady was still in a daze. She had never lacked money growing up, but she had never had so much money before. Suddenly having nearly 200 million euros felt unreal to her. Fortunately, the presence of the reporter cheered her up. She received similar training from a young age, and the young lady is very experienced in dealing with reporters. After taking the check and showing it off, he said with a smile, "I was able to get 178.2 million euros because of Kevin. He told me a lot about Otto Rehagel. He thought Greece could win the championship, and I thought, why not give it a try? So I bet on Greece. I trusted Kevin, and you all saw the result. A relationship? I guess so. It's not up to me. You need to ask him." Huang Kaiwan immediately started talking like a scumbag, and said with a smile, "Barbara and I are good friends. Don't misunderstand our relationship. She is a friendly and warm girl. After I arrived in Milan, she made me feel the warmth of the AC Milan family." The reporters rolled their eyes. "The bed in the hotel room you stayed in was broken, and you still say you're just ordinary friends? Do you think we believe that?" But there was nothing they could do about what Huang Kaiwan said. On the way back, Barbara was somewhat dissatisfied with his statement and remained silent with a dark expression. Huang Kaiwan, who wrote female-oriented and urban novels for a while, is not a low-EQ weirdo. In his previous life, he didn't go out because he was busy with work. Even a tentacle monster needs a lot of time to write 20,000 to 30,000 words a day. However, he had to set the tone correctly so that Barbara wouldn't have the wrong idea. "I'm doing this for your own good," Huang Kaiwan said with a smile. The young lady slammed on the brakes, then turned and glared at him, angrily asking, "What do you mean by, for my own good? You just don't want to take responsibility." Kevin Huang. Excuse me, is there such a thing as taking responsibility for someone's sleep in Europe? Of course, he wouldn't ask that, otherwise he would probably anger Barbara. Huang Kaiwan said earnestly, "Your father is a prominent figure. He won't allow you to associate with a player, especially an Asian player. I don't want you to be in a difficult situation." Huang Kaiwan didn't say anything unpleasant. But Barbara knew that her father was a racist. Thinking about this made her feel very uncomfortable. However, when it comes to love and freedom, a father is not so important. If one cannot love, one should rather die. The works of so many romantic poets have already demonstrated this point, and Barbara suddenly felt that she was the modern Juliet. They started driving again, but Barbara fell silent. Huang Kaiwan wiped the sweat from his forehead. "We finally managed to fool them. Even if you're living off a woman, you can't let yourself get involved. As Qian Zhongshu once said, marriage is a besieged city, those outside want to get in, and those inside want to get out." Huang Kaiwan has no plans to move to the city in his lifetime. After returning home, Barbara surprisingly chose to read a book. He was clearly provoked. Recalling Barbara's latest fate, Huang Kaiwan proactively recommended books such as The 36 Stratagems to Barbara. The next morning, he planned to get up and watch a movie to learn some plot points so that he could get injured after returning to training with the team, since his trial card had expired. Upon checking the system, I found I had gained 10 more fate points. It's still Barbara. This will drastically alter the fate of Barbara, the future president of AC Milan. Click below to reveal your destiny. The scene appeared immediately. Barbara listened to your words and thought they made a lot of sense. She stopped reading fashion magazines and started reading military strategy books instead. Following your advice, Barbara made some investments, made a lot of money, and bought you both annual front-page subscriptions in Italian newspapers. Even if you don't play football, you're still considered the world's #1 football star by the Italian media. Mr. Beckham has discovered her strengths and thinks Barbara is a good successor. Barbara devised a plan to cause her older siblings to lose points, successfully seizing power and taking control of Milan. After Shevchenko left the team, you switched to number 7. Barbara decided to retire the number 7 jersey when you retire. Barbara has successfully made it into the Forbes 100. Under Barbara's control, Milan has both money and manpower, and you are Milan's most powerful relative. Barbara even got Milan to sign your cousin and younger cousin. Kaká and you have a lot in common in this regard. Although Barbara is very unhappy with your philandering, she still loves you deeply. Besides, you're so healthy that she can't keep up with it, and sometimes she'll even introduce you to her friends. Barbara is very angry because you spent other people's money to buy the plane. She earnestly tells you that men should spend their own money, otherwise they will be looked down upon. Milan has offered you a €40 million contract, and the Berlusconi family business, including Milan United Construction Company, has given you an astronomical endorsement deal. The opposition, though united, prepared to resist the rule of this despicable couple over Milan. However, Milan was completely under Barbara's control, and their protests were futile. Furthermore, at her instigation, the Italian media launched a frenzied condemnation of the fans' violent acts. To demonstrate against the fans, she announced a 10% annual salary increase. Although UEFA frequently fines Milan, the wealthy and powerful Barbara didn't care at all, even asking if there would be a discount for fines if she paid for 10 years. You played for 15 years, felt it was meaningless, and chose to retire. But your son was still in Milan's youth team. A few years later, he got his first professional contract worth €10 million and inherited your number 7 jersey. Milan fans were devastated. They never thought that even after you left, someone would inherit your VIP ticket in the stands. The club will always be short one person registered. Later, your grandson also became a Milan star. Your family and the Maldini family can be considered two of the most legendary families in Milan. In 2070, your descendant was still playing football in Milan. Unfortunately, despite his talent, he didn't inherit the family tradition of only taking money and not playing. Barbara lived to 96, and on her deathbed, she requested to be buried with you. You agreed, and she passed away with a smile. End of this chapter. Chapter 15, First Meeting with My Teammates. Forget it, Huang Kaiwen is no longer bothered by the system's slander. He's already so dazzling, and he has a stomach problem, so what's wrong with eating something soft? After reading through everything, Huang Kaiwen noticed that there were also missions and shop. After accepting the mission, it will be easier to change the fate of the mission target. Both the tasks and shop are refreshed monthly, and if a task is not completed, it can be abandoned after 1 month. His task now is to choose one of 3 options. Task 1, the future, change the fate of the future third-rate player Christian Maldini, and help him become a star player who can establish himself at AC Milan. Well, it seems that Mr. Ma's eldest son is sick or something, which seems to be a bit difficult and will take a long time. Christian seems to be only a few years old, but his younger brother Daniel later became a rotation player in Milan. It's impossible for Kevin Huang to do this task. After all, he didn't know anything about Christian's situation, whether he had talent or not. If he has talent, even his own father, Paolo Maldini, couldn't turn him into a star player, so Huang Kaiwen doesn't think he's better at developing players than Maldini. Task 2 for this season, change Dida's fate and prevent his premature decline. Hint, after the fireworks derby was surrounded by debris, Dida was unable to concentrate on the game. This task seems relatively simple. Huang Kaiwen finally understood why Dida, originally a top goalkeeper, declined so quickly. He lacked a sense of security on the field and was afraid of being hit by debris, so he definitely couldn't concentrate on playing football. Even if we don't take on the mission, it should be easy to change this, we just need to remind Dida when the time comes. Mission 3, long-term change the fate of top star Kaká, ensuring he doesn't leave a major league prematurely. This is the task that Huang Kaiwen wanted. He really wanted to change Kaká's fate, but unfortunately there were no hints. If there were hints like Dida's, he could have taken a more targeted approach. Even though it was a bit difficult, Huang Kaiwen decided to take the job. If it can change Kaká's fate, it would be a good thing for Milan. This salary thief can be considered as contributing to the team in other ways. Click to accept the task, and you will receive a notification. Ding, accept quest 3, long-term. Abnormal statuses have increased. Huang Kaiwen was almost scared to death. One vulnerability change would have been enough to make him suffer. Fortunately, this time it wasn't a debuff. Abnormal status, Kaká's best buddy. Kaká feels an instant connection with you. He perceives you as a wise man and is willing to listen to your advice. On the field, you two are a perfect match, and off the field, you are as close as brothers. After changing Kaká's fate, the abnormal status will disappear, and your relationship will change to that of players based on your closeness with Kaká. Seeing this, Huang Kaiwen was quite satisfied. He could now more easily change Kaká's fate. Huang Kaiwen jotted down a note in his notebook reminding Dida to visit Maldini's house when he had time to see how his eldest son was doing. Satisfied, he continued watching the movie. With the European Championship over, some teammates will have their holidays extended, but most will return to the team in a few days. Huang Kaiwen is quite nervous about his first training session. After the trial card disappeared, he was nothing. This training session will expose their true colors. Undeterred, Huang Kaiwen tried a few times on the grass, and sure enough, Carlos Caesar had no talent. A few days later, on July 12, the Milan players returned to the team. The teammates who didn't participate in the major competition in the summer all came back, and Barbara especially drove Huang Kaiwen to Milanello because Huang Kaiwen doesn't really like driving himself. Anyway, the young lady doesn't need to clock in for work. I ran into Stam in the underground parking lot. Stam clearly recognized Huang Kaiwen and greeted him with a smile. Morning. Unfortunately, Stam looked a bit fierce, and his smile didn't seem like that of a kind person. Huang Kaiwen, of course, wouldn't judge a book by its cover, and greeted Stam with a smile, good morning. In order to better act as a salary thief, he would cultivate good relationships with everyone on the team and even the club staff. Even if Barbara takes control of the team in the future, internal exclusion will still make him feel uncomfortable. Huang Kaiwen still hopes that there can be a friendly and harmonious environment for him to slack off. Honey, I'll come pick you up after your training. Barbara hugged Kevin Huang and said reluctantly. Okay, go to work, Mom. Barbara, who was being teased, punched Kevin Huang in the chest and drove away. Barbara drove away in a huff, believing that Kevin Huang called her Mom, because he thought she was nagging, and decided to let Kevin Huang sleep on the sofa when she got home that night. Stam smiled and waited for Huang Kaiwen to walk towards the locker room together. These young guys are really annoying, but this kid is definitely talented. Stam also watched the video of that unveiling ceremony. He had never seen such a talented player before. Even Cruyff and Van Basten were not as good as this kid. During the change of clothes, Kevin Huang took the initiative to talk to Yap Stam about his time at Manchester United, and together they complained about how unreasonable Sir Alex Ferguson was. Stam felt that Kevin Huang understood his feelings very well and considered him a confidant. When we arrived at the training ground, I took the initiative to introduce him to his teammates. This is Paul, you should have met him before. Good morning, Captain. Huang Kaiwen greeted him with a smile. Go for it, Kevin. Maldini wore a warm, ant-like smile. He believes that Kevin Huang is the future of Milan, so he naturally won't hesitate to show goodwill towards him. André Pirlo, you should know him, right? Stam pointed at Pirlo and said. Of course, Huang Kaiwen took the initiative to shake hands with Pirlo and said, I've always thought André's long passes are the best in the world. I'm very happy to play with you. Pirlo felt that Kevin Huang was too enthusiastic, but he still smiled and shook hands with him. He never imagined that his long passes were the best in the world, and that his new teammates had great foresight. Filippo Inzaghi, he's a guy every defender dreads. Stam explained again. Inzaghi, looking smug, came over and said, I watched your performance on TV and I think you're pretty good. Pass the ball to me more often on the field. Okay, as long as I can play often, I'll definitely give you more assists. Inzaghi was very satisfied with what Huang Kaiwen said. Stam, with a villainous grin, said, You're too modest. The coach will definitely make you a starter. How could you not get to play often? Huang Kaiwen thought to himself, on the condition that I don't get hurt. Andriy Shevchenko, a great star, is a strong contender for the Ballon d'Or. Huang Kaiwen naturally knew Shevchenko. He used to really like Shevchenko when watching football. Suddenly he remembered that he hadn't seen any information about Shiva's mission. Shevchenko's career also declined rapidly after leaving Milan, and he and Torres were known as Chelsea's two biggest flops. End of this chapter. Chapter 16. Coach, I'm feeling a little unwell, thanks to Dengualanchanar for the donation. Alessandro Nesta, don't let his refined appearance fool you, he's a beast in real life. Hello, Alessandro. Huang Kaiwen went up and gave him a hug, saying, Milan has the best defense in the world, which is really reassuring. Hello, hello. Nesta said, flattered. In Europe, people aren't used to polite conversation. Dida and our loyal Abbiati are the team's number 1 and number 2 goalkeepers. Stamo had just finished speaking when Dida immediately came up and hugged Huang Kaiwen, turning the tables and even praising Huang Kaiwen's Spanish. Brazilians speak Portuguese, but Portuguese is very similar to Spanish, so they can understand each other, which is comfortable for Dida. Hey, buddy. Abbiati also raised his hand to greet him. After seeing Huang Kaiwen's ability, the Milan players were all willing to show him goodwill, let alone Huang Kaiwen who was so cooperative. Gazelle Gattuso, unlike Nesta, looks like a beast, but is actually a quiet guy. Stam began his commentary for the day. Huang Kaiwen somewhat understood why Ferguson disliked Stam. Stam always thinks he's the best when he's evaluating others. I bet he did a lot of criticism of Ferguson in his autobiography. Could Ferguson, with his temper, have tolerated him? Don't listen to his nonsense. Gattuso smiled and came up to shake hands with Kevin Huang. Clarence Seedorf, my national team teammate. Stam introduced his compatriots with less enthusiasm. Ignore that big oaf, he just transferred to Milan. Seedorf retorted. Huang Kaiwen pursed his lips and didn't say anything. Gattuso whispered to himself, one of them is from Eindhoven, and the other is from Ajax. Now Huang Kaiwen understands. The Netherlands team's biggest enemy has always been itself. However, he didn't expect that Stam had just transferred to Milan. He was fooled by Stam's performance. Stam seemed to have played for Lazio before. It's not surprising that he knows Milan players, since they are in the same league. After introducing a few lesser-known figures, Stam led Huang Kaiwen to greet a young man. His name is Deegan, he's Kaká's younger brother, and he just transferred here. Stam's words were laced with disdain, he was practically pointing a finger at Deegan and calling him a noob. Deegan doesn't speak Italian and can only give a silly grin, looking quite simple-minded. After all, he's the only player on the team with connections, and his salary isn't low. Kevin Huang immediately gave Deegan a big hug. Even if the football world values ability, you still have to consider the owner before beating a dog, right? His brother is the number 1 idol in the football world. Deegan was deeply moved that a big star like Kevin Huang was still so friendly towards him. Ancelotti watched with a smile as Huang Kaiwen greeted the first team before leading the coaching staff up and asking, "How was your holiday?" "Not bad. The time was a bit short. It's a pity I couldn't participate in the European Championship." "Not bad at all." The players chimed in with their own opinions. Ancelotti's smile widened immediately, and he waved the list, saying, "Looks like you're doing well. I've noticed some of you have gained weight. Let's do a little test to see how you're doing." Below, there was a chorus of wails. Even players don't like testing. The coaching staff naturally paid no attention to it, on the contrary, they were happy to see the star's performance. "Kevin, you don't need to go to the team doctor. You just had a physical exam a few days ago." "Oh, okay." Huang Kaiwen stood on the sidelines chatting with the coaching staff. "It's great to see you integrate into the team so quickly. In a few days, when the players who played in the big game return, you'll have new teammates. Ancelotti praised him generously. Don't worry, coach, I'll get along well with everyone. As his teammates returned to the court one by one, Huang Kaiwan immediately went up to greet them, raising his hand and saying, "Guys, I'll treat you to dinner tomorrow night. I'll pick a nice restaurant, and remember to bring your families." "Thanks, Kevin." "Okay, we'll be there." "You're really generous, buddy." "Is it Michelin?" "Why not today?" Huang Kaiwan originally wanted to invite everyone out for a get-together today, but then he thought that if he didn't tell them in advance, they might not be able to arrange their time, so he decided to do it tomorrow. "Once my teammates return from the big tournament this summer, I'll find an opportunity to treat them to a meal." Huang Kaiwan refused to believe it. He would invite them to dinner all the time, so how could their relationship not be good? Looking at the smiling Ancelotti, Huang Kaiwan said to the coach, "The coaching staff may be a little reserved, but you can choose the place yourselves. Remember to drink some good wine. I'll pay the bill. My biggest problem right now is that I have money but nowhere to spend it." The coaching staff were also very happy, feeling that Huang Kaiwan knew how to handle people. Before even touching a ball, Huang Kaiwan had already made a good rapport with people in Milan. During the test, he was surrounded by his teammates. "Andre's speed is like a snail's pace. I bet he won't run under 11.5 seconds. I bet he can't even run in 12 seconds. Inzaghi crossed his arms and started a loud commotion. Pirlo, who was preparing to test his 100-meter time, turned his head and gave Inzaghi the middle finger. "All right, Andre, let your performance speak for itself. Begin." Pirlo sprinted off and began running at full speed. More than 10 seconds later, the assistant coach in charge of timing shouted, 11.82 seconds. "Wow, he actually broke 12 seconds. Well done, Andre." Inzaghi shouted sarcastically, and Pirlo found a ball on the sidelines and kicked it into the crowd. His footwork was accurate, but he didn't use much power, and Abbiati easily caught it. Shevchenko ran 11.4 seconds and came back looking unhappy. Inzaghi, who had initially mocked Pirlo, ran a time of 12.8 seconds. He returned with a grin, put his arm around Pirlo, and said, "I don't need to be too fast, just fast enough to get going." Pirlo rolled his eyes and ignored him. "Kaká is the fastest." Nesta said something. Huang Kaiwan was a little curious because he had heard that Kaká was faster with the ball than without. How fast is Kaká? Under 10.5 seconds. "Kevin, it's your turn." Ancelotti called out. The others joined in with cheers, also curious about the kid's 100-meter speed. Especially those players who participated in Milan's China tour in the summer. Huang Kaiwan's speed on the field was quite amazing, possibly even surpassing Kaká's. Huang Kaiwan stood there stiffly, and Ancelotti smiled and comforted him, "Don't be nervous, it's just a small test. Start, run." Huang Kaiwan rushed out with all his might. Without the trial card, he himself felt that his speed was slower than before, but fortunately Carlos Caesar's body was still in good condition. He used almost all his strength to run wildly. The 100-meter distance passed in the blink of an eye. The assistant coach shouted, 11.6 seconds. The teammates, who were watching the spectacle, erupted in a clamor. Ancelotti, who was originally standing at the starting line, took the initiative to walk towards Huang Kaiwan. "This speed is acceptable for an average player, but it's unacceptable that Huang Kaiwan can't even break 11 seconds. What's wrong? You're much slower than before," Ancelotti asked with concern. "Coach, I'm not feeling well," Huang Kaiwan said with a helpless expression. "He really gave it his all, you all overestimated me." Ancelotti patted his gun on the shoulder and advised, "Although I shouldn't say this in my position, I used to be a player too. Here's a piece of advice, if you want to continue shining on the field, you'd better tone it down a bit when it comes to women." The other players then started to jeer. End of this chapter. Hey buddy, I saw in the newspaper that you guys were partying at the hotel until dawn. I'll introduce you to some models when I have time, so you can experience the passion of Italian girls, Filippo Inzaghi said with a smile, his arm around Kevin Huang's shoulder. He has found his kind. Don't corrupt our newbies, you bastard. Maldini immediately kicked Inzaghi in the backside. After Inzaghi ran off with a grin, Maldini came over and said, don't hang out with that guy. The coach is right. You should be more restrained. You know Ronaldo, right? He's a super striker, but injuries don't spare you just because you're a superstar. Even if he performs well at Real Madrid, I don't have high hopes for his future. He's wasting too much energy off the field. Yes, Captain, I will be careful. Huang Kaiwen nodded and said. Guys, your performance was truly astonishing. I don't think I could run the 100 meters slower than Filippo, Ancelotti said with a smile. Boss, you're lying. If you're so capable, try running it yourself. Inzaghi protested in dissatisfaction. Ancelotti didn't respond at all, glanced at the documents handed to him by the team doctor, and continued to criticize the first team. It seems you guys really indulged yourselves during the holidays. I'll get you back to normal as soon as possible. Start with acclimatization training today, and then we'll intensify it in a few days. By the way, Gennaro, Kevin, and Dario are injured, so you should go to the sidelines or the gym. The Milan players jeered again, tacitly acknowledging that Huang Kaiwen had been completely drained. Gattuso pulled Kevin Huang and Simic aside and comforted Kevin Huang, saying, "You don't need to pay attention to those bastards, they mean no harm." Yes, I'm not angry. Everyone was very friendly. You know what I mean, that's just how Italians are. Gattuso made a sarcastic remark, as if he himself wasn't Italian. I don't like going to the gym, how about jogging? Gattuso asked. Okay, I also think jogging is a good idea. Kevin Huang happily accepted Gattuso's suggestion. Dario Simic glanced at Kevin Huang and thought to himself, this guy's a sycophant. Simic used to play for Inter Milan, and even after transferring to Milan for 2 seasons, he was still a marginal figure in the locker room. As soon as Huang Kaiwen joined the team, he immediately became one with the local players, which hurt Simic. On the training field, AC Milan players are playing with their dogs. The start of the new season always focuses on low-intensity training, allowing everyone to train happily. Gradually adapt to the training intensity of professional players. In the football world around 2000, holidays were just holidays. Not many players would take a break to train extra and then post on Instagram. So after a break of more than a month, the player's physical condition was completely different from that during the season, and many even returned with a little belly. Damn it, I'm a striker, I shouldn't be participating in tackling drills. Inzaghi, who had been repeatedly tricked, shouted, pulling at his neck. His teammates ignored him and continued passing the ball around to dribble past Inzaghi with smiles on their faces. Inzaghi chased after the ball, Shevchenko flicked it with his right foot and then poked it to Pirlo on the other side with his left. Pirlo received the ball and waited for Inzaghi to catch up before passing it out, his pass finding Maldini perfectly. Before Maldini could even make a move, an enraged Inzaghi used both hands and feet to grab the Milan captain and successfully steal the ball. Your turn, Paul. Inzaghi quickly pushed Maldini forward, fearing that Maldini might disagree. Maldini smiled, shook his head, and walked to the middle. You cheating bastard. Filippo is as stupid as a pig. If he doesn't use his hands, we won't substitute him at the end of today's training. It's good to change players. Filippo standing in the middle doesn't create any sense of pressure at all, and it doesn't serve any training purpose. The others mocked Inzaghi. Damn it, what are you talking about? Filippo, Inzaghi said angrily, pointing at his teammates. I'm just not feeling well lately, understand? Otherwise, I would have caught you all already. If you're not feeling well, you can run laps with Gennaro and the others. Pirlo showed no mercy, he still held a grudge from the 100-meter test. Inzaghi looked towards the sidelines and immediately exclaimed, look, they're still running. Haven't they stopped? The other players also looked over curiously. They had been training on the field for more than 20 minutes, and even jogging was quite intense. Simic, who had originally followed Huang Kaiwen and Gattuso to the sidelines, was now resting on the sidelines, while Huang Kaiwen and Gattuso continued to work up a sweat on the track beside the training field. Inzaghi waved to Simic and shouted, they haven't stopped yet. How many laps have they done? 6.5 laps. Everyone was stunned when they heard that. The track at Milanello is 1,200 meters per lap, so 6.5 laps would be close to 8,000 meters. They've only been training for half an hour, and they've already run this far. Although athletes can run 10,000 meters in just over 30 minutes, and the world's top long-distance runners can even run it in around 27 minutes, they are not professional track and field athletes. Simic stepped over to explain to the main players, those two are running quite interestingly, they're competing against each other, trying to see who can win. Really? He's actually going to have an endurance contest with Gennaro? Inzaghi got excited when he heard that, and his eyes lit up. Really, I can't keep up with them anymore. I'll rest for a while, I'm still injured. Simic said somewhat displeased. He, Inzaghi waved to Pirlo and said, aren't you unhappy? Let's guess who will win, 100 yuan. I guess it's really narrow. Pirlo spoke first. Hey, you bastard, I want to guess the real narrow. Inzaghi protested somewhat unhappily. The other teammates also joined in the fun and cheered. The personal feud between Inzaghi and Pirlo turned Inzaghi into the bookmaker. And they all thought Gattuso would win. Inzaghi's heart was bleeding. Money is a minor issue, what's the big deal is losing to so many people at once, does he care about his reputation? The coaching staff were also attracted by their noise. After inquiring, Ancelotti and the others joined in as well. With his expression gradually becoming numb, Inzaghi shouted to the sidelines, Kevin, you have to do it. Nobody believes you can win except me. Don't let me down. On lap 9, Inzaghi shouted, Kevin, come on, beat Gennaro. On lap 10, Inzaghi excitedly shouted, Kevin, Gennaro is falling behind, you have to hold on. On lap 11, Inzaghi began to persuade Gattuso, whose pace had become erratic, to give up, Gennaro, don't keep going, you're no match for Kevin. On lap 13, Gattuso's legs were clearly not right, his steps were light and heavy. Inzaghi was excited and continued to persuade him to give up, Gennaro, don't push yourself. Look at Kevin, he's still full of energy. You'll hurt yourself if you keep running. Gattuso, who was originally prepared to give up, continued to grit his teeth and run after hearing his shout. However, when he returned to the starting point, Huang had already lapped him once. Seeing that there was no hope of victory, Gattuso simply gave up, squatted down with his hands on his knees, and said breathlessly, okay, you win, you're good. Inzaghi cheered and rushed towards Kevin Huang, jumping directly onto Kevin Huang's back, almost causing Kevin Huang to tumble. You lost, you bastards. Ha, you bunch of idiots, you blind fools. Only I have the best eye, I knew Kevin would win. Kevin, you're really good. At the training ground in Milanello, only Inzaghi was pointing at his teammates and laughing arrogantly. Ancelotti was also very happy. I hadn't realized before that Kevin Huang had such good stamina. A talented player with excellent physical fitness is extremely important to a team. This season, Kevin Huang may be able to play 45 games. With Kevin Huang and Kaká, Milan might be able to win the title undefeated, and they might even have a chance to break Milan's previous record of 58 undefeated games. When Milan achieved their unbeaten record, Ancelotti was a Milan player. To break the undefeated record he set as a player as a coach sounds amazing. In the world of football, besides Ancelotti, probably no one else could do that. End of this chapter. Chapter 18 The Coming Appearance. After winning the race against Gattuso, Huang earned the respect of his teammates. Inzaghi invited him to go out and have fun after school, and Huang was very tempted, but he still declined. Barbara said she'd pick him up after training, so they couldn't go out and have fun in this situation. It's a real shame that Inzaghi couldn't bring his new good brother along to fight, because today Huang helped him win the whole team. Players from both Milan clubs are known for their love of nightclubs, and Inzaghi, a playboy, is one of them. Somewhat regretfully, Inzaghi dropped Huang off at the parking lot and drove away in his sports car. Huang got into Barbara's Mercedes and kissed the young lady, which drew a scolding from her. How was your day? Did you get along well with your teammates? Young lady asked softly. In her estimation, Huang probably wouldn't integrate into the team so easily. In Italy, racial discrimination is very serious. Even if you have the ability, there's not much you can do if the whole team ostracizes you. It's not bad. My teammates are all great. I invited them to dinner tomorrow, and they all said they would be there. Aha. Barbara turned to look at Kevin Huang, and asked in surprise. They were very friendly and even accepted your invitation. Yeah, what's wrong? No. It's nothing. Barbara started the car, drove out of the parking lot, and felt much better. I never imagined the man I had my eye on would be so outstanding. You have to understand that AC Milan stars are no pushovers. As the owner's daughter, she's heard plenty about the disharmony among the Milan players. The influence of domestic players is very strong. The legendary Milanese Knights table. Unexpectedly, Huang Kaiwan got along well with his teammates on the first day. Thinking about it this way, the man she had her eye on was far more outstanding than she knew. She was proud of Huang Kaiwan and happy for him, so the night was another night of fierce battle. The next morning. Sensing that Huang Kaiwan had gotten up, Barbara rolled over and looked at him affectionately as he got dressed, asking, "Why are you up so early, darling?" "I'm going to warm up first, after all, I'm a professional player." "Okay, I'll get up and cook in a bit." Barbara's sleepiness vanished instantly. Her man is so outstanding and hard-working, how can she hold him back? Barbara stared at the ceiling, wondering which restaurant to take her to that evening so as not to embarrass Kevin Huang. As for appointments, they are completely unnecessary for someone of her status. Today is an important day. If any restaurant doesn't give her face, she'll tear that restaurant down the moment she turns around. After dropping Huang Kaiwan off for training in the morning, Barbara was hit with a harsh reality check. Enrico Bartolini Al Mudec, Milan's only Michelin 3-star restaurant, already had quite a few reservations. Some of the diners were of high status, and even her father could not be treated casually. After calling my friends from the second generation, I finally decided on Viva Viviana Varese, a Michelin 1-star restaurant. This unpleasant reservation experience gave Barbara the idea of opening a restaurant. The young lady has plenty of money now, even her father, who is worth over $6 billion, doesn't have as much liquid cash as she does. She previously gave Huang Kaiwan a card with 20 million euros and bought the house they live in now. She still has nearly 150 million euros left. It would be a waste if she didn't invest and make use of it. Barbara is also currently looking into some investment projects. In Milanello, Kevin Huang began another day of running laps. Abnormal injury vulnerability change. From the moment you step onto the grass, your injury chance increases by 200%, increasing by 5% per second. After leaving the field due to injury, your injury chance returns to the initial level. You will not suffer fatal injuries, and injuries will not affect your physical functions. This cycle repeats until you successfully defend your Champions League title and remove the abnormal status. Fortunately, the training track wasn't grass, so he wasn't sure if the abnormal state of stepping onto the grass counted as the start of the training track or only the official competition venue. If it's just about the grass, then he might get injured while warming up. It's really ridiculous to think about. The Milan players were having a great time on the training field. However, Ancelotti looked to the sidelines and chatted with his assistant coach, saying, "I wonder how Kevin's physical condition is. Let him go to the team doctor for another checkup this afternoon. If possible, let him play in a friendly match so he can integrate into the team quickly." "Okay, you can take him there later." Ancelotti nodded and said. His biggest concern right now is Huang Kaiwan's health. "I went for a checkup this afternoon, and the team doctor said he was perfectly fine." Huang Kaiwan silently rolled his eyes. Damn it, this team doctor will definitely be fired once Barbara becomes the president. Ancelotti was very happy to hear the news. He pulled Huang Kaiwan aside and said, "In the friendly match in a few days, I will arrange for you to come on as a substitute. At that time, you must try your best to get to know your teammates and integrate into the team as soon as possible. I will arrange for you to play as a starter." When Huang Kaiwan received a contract of 2.5 million after tax, he was already a reserve player for the main team. Even if Milan hadn't declined, they wouldn't have been able to sign such a high-paid substitute. Huang Kaiwan seemed preoccupied, but thankfully the dinner that evening was a pleasant affair for both host and guests. Barbara made excellent arrangements, booking the entire restaurant. Huang Kaiwan met his teammates' families and Barbara, a social expert, and they established a good relationship. When Maldini's wife returned home that evening, she asked, "Are we going to Kevin's house in a few days? They've invited us and the children over." Paolo Maldini replied with a smile, "Don't worry, Adriana, Kevin is a good lad, and I'd like the kids to get to know him too. I didn't say he was bad. I also think Kevin is good. It's just that having a child can be annoying, right? It's okay, Kevin already said so. Oh well. Mrs. Maldini, Adriana, nodded in agreement. For some reason, she felt that Huang Kaiwan was a good guy when she met him for the first time today. She even told him some embarrassing stories about Paolo Maldini, even though she never speaks ill of her husband in public. Adriana concluded that Kevin Huang possessed a special kind of affability. She didn't have many Asian friends before, so it would be nice to have one. Huang Kaiwan was completely numb. The team doctor was being disrespectful, saying he was perfectly healthy. Fortunately, Ancelotti did not force him to participate in ball training, otherwise he would have been exposed. And so, the Milan running king conquered Milanello with his endurance, and the first friendly match arrived. Their opponent was Grosseto FC, a team in the Italian Serie C. These weak opponents are mainly used to help players who have indulged themselves in the summer to get back into form. It's not about letting them experience high-intensity competition. If a player is invited by Milan to play at the San Siro, Milan will also pay them a sum of money for transportation and training. To cheer on Huang Kaiwan, Barbara brought her best friends to San Siro. End of this chapter. Chapter 19. Something terrible has happened. Kevin is injured. Giovanni Ferrero's daughter, who sells chocolates, Paula Fendi, the fourth-generation heiress of Fendi, Joanna Ferrari, granddaughter of Piero Ferrari, Silvana Armani, who heads Armani's design department, Giulia Rosso, daughter of Renzo Rosso, the founder of Diesel. Barbara's close friends range in age from under 20 to their early 30s, and are mostly from prominent Italian families. Although these young, wealthy women haven't yet taken power, they could still pool their money and buy AC Milan. Like the daughter of Ferrero, the richest man in the world, who received a huge allowance from a young age. Her birthday present when she was a child was a yacht. Canale 5, owned by Mr. Bay, is the most profitable TV station in Italy. Today, when the director saw the young ladies in the stands, he smiled in surprise and said, "Kevin really has a lot of influence." Barbara actually brought so many of her girlfriends to cheer him on. A single word from these girls' elders can affect related industries and the economy in Italy. Seeing the Milan players warming up on the field, Paula Fendi pointed curiously to the only Asian man and asked, "Is that your boyfriend, Barbara?" "I guess so," Barbara replied, somewhat annoyed. "What do you mean by right? He doesn't seem too happy to be my boyfriend." "How could that be? Our Barbara is so beautiful, from such a good family, and the bear is so big. I want to grab it myself when I see it. Get out of my way." Because they didn't choose a VIP box, the fans in the stands also witnessed the young ladies' playful antics. Young fans could only click their tongues in envy, feeling jealous that the team's new signing had gotten so lucky, directly dating one of Italy's top heiresses. Barbara's family is not only rich, but also powerful. Who can mess with them? After the game started, Huang Kaiwan sat on the bench. Ancelotti deliberately chose a seat next to him and began to explain. "Look at Gennaro, he tackles very cleanly and his positioning is very clever. When you are playing with him, you need to wait for him, because he may not be able to keep up with your speed." Huang Kaiwan nodded humbly. Gattuso's speed was indeed not fast. "You're quite fast, so you need to take care of your teammates. Most of Milan's players aren't that fast. Shevchenko is already one of the fastest in the team, and there's Kaká, who hasn't returned yet. But you talented players will definitely get along well." "Okay, coach." Huang Kaiwan doesn't even know what kind of genius he is. "Paul and you have a good relationship, which will be beneficial for your cooperation on the field. You are a two-footed player, so you can play either left or right wing. Cafu will also be a great help to you in attack. Before, our attack relied more on the middle, but with you here, we can attack from both the middle and the wings. I believe Milan will be more difficult to defend against this," Ancelotti said with a smile. Huang Kaiwan's performance when he rushed onto the court was so amazing that it raised high expectations for this good-natured guy. Huang Kaiwan always felt that the coach was overthinking things. He was a little embarrassed by Ancelotti's enthusiasm. Ancelotti's words implied that he was a key player for Milan, which put considerable pressure on Huang Kaiwan. How did he, a nobody who was just planning to be a regular in the stands, become the player you were most looking forward to seeing? I guess the coach will figure it out as the season progresses. Seeing that Huang Kaiwen wasn't saying much, Ancelotti put his arm around Huang Kaiwen's shoulder and said, "Don't be afraid of me. You can treat the coach as your friend. I've always had a very good impression of Chinese people. Sometime, we can introduce you to my son, David, who is a good young man who loves football. I also have a daughter named Katia, who is a beautiful angel." Kevin Huang. Hearing Ancelotti say this, he suspected that Ancelotti was trying to poach Barbara's man. No, he was trying to poach Mr. Berlusconi's man. Is Huang so sought after now? It seems that Guogua's daughter was dating a player back then. Van Bommel simply married his mentor's daughter. Is Ancelotti trying to emulate Van Marwijk? Knowing that playing today was inevitable, Huang Kaiwen looked at his expectation value of 100 in the system and directly drew a single-game trial card. Ding! You have obtained a David Beckham trial card for the final match of the 2001 World Cup qualifiers, England vs Greece. Having received a decent card, Huang Kaiwen excitedly raised his arms, relieved that he wouldn't be exposed today. Ancelotti was also very happy to see Shevchenko score and Huang Kaiwen so excited. It's a great thing for the team if the new signing feels a sense of belonging. At the end of the first half, Milan's players didn't exert much effort, and the score became 2-0. Fearing that Kevin Huang would get impatient, Ancelotti substituted him onto the field just 5 minutes into the second half. Seedorf came over and hugged Huang Kaiwen, who was waiting on the sidelines, encouraging him, "Keep it up." Huang Kaiwen read a movie he had seen before, touched the grass with his head down, and then jogged onto the field. Wow, Kevin has replaced Seedorf. Milan's super talent has finally come on the field. The fans gave him a warm round of applause. It is said that his physical condition has been so recently, but since he can play, he must be fine. Kevin, you can do it. Barbara in the stands was so excited she was jumping up and down. The fans responded with good-natured laughter. The game restarted, and the Milan players consciously passed the ball to Huang Kaiwen. After all, he had treated them to a meal just a few days ago. Huang Kaiwen's speed wasn't fast enough today, which is normal in their eyes. Snap! After receiving a pass from Ambrosini in the backfield, Huang Kaiwen swung his arm and delivered a long pass with his left foot, which surprisingly went directly behind the opponent's defense. Shevchenko easily rushed up to receive the ball and formed a one-on-one situation, and then pushed the ball in to change the score again. Beautiful pass. Kevin's long pass is no less impressive than Pirlo's. After scoring, Shevchenko gave a thumbs up to Huang Kaiwen in the backfield. That was a perfect pass, allowing him to score with ease. Ancelotti watched from the sidelines, grinning from ear to ear, never expecting Huang Kaiwen to deliver such a long pass. Pirlo, sitting on the bench, was a little embarrassed. He had previously been called the world's best long passer by Huang Kaiwen, but now it seemed that Huang Kaiwen's long pass skills were no worse than his. Milan fans cheered, not because of Shevchenko, but because of Kevin Huang. The super talent the team signed with a record-breaking annual salary has finally shown his true colors. Huang Kaiwen also discovered a problem. That is, his body is ambidextrous. After drawing the Beckham experience card, he can also deliver accurate long passes with his left foot. It feels so good to be able to hit exactly where you point it. After the restart, Kevin Huang remained the most eye-catching player on the court. After receiving the pass, Huang Kaiwen immediately launched an attack with a long pass. Even Pirlo felt his scalp tingle at this level of precision. Damn it, this kid was mocking him before, wasn't he? In the 70th minute, Milan won a free kick on the right side. Huang Kaiwen stepped up to take the free kick, and his teammates immediately handed it over to him. Is Kevin going to take a free kick? He took a dipping shot during Milan's China tour, which was just as good as Juninho's, but this one was positioned a bit too far to the side. Wow, that move looks just like Beckham. Goal! Goal! Kevin Huang, a direct free kick goal. Milan has another incredible free kick master. He can kick a free kick like a knuckleball and also score with a curved shot like Beckham. The entire stadium chanted Huang Kaiwen's name. More than 40,000 fans came to San Siro today, mainly to see Kevin Huang perform. Otherwise, they wouldn't be interested in watching Milan play against Serie C teams. Huang Kaiwen's performance of hugging his teammates was excellent. Most importantly, his teammates like him very much, so fans don't have to worry about him not being able to integrate into the team. If it weren't for the fact that it was Huang Kaiwen who scored, the Milan players wouldn't have rushed over to celebrate with him. A third-tier team isn't worth it. The main purpose was to encourage this quick-thinking newcomer. So talented, yet so humble. The Milan players really like Huang Kaiwen. Here you go. That was a beautiful kick. Go for it, Kevin. You look great. Huang Kaiwen silently accepted the encouragement from his teammates. Beckham was certainly strong when he played against Greece, that kick was worth a fortune. He also wanted to experience what it was like to play football like Beckham. However, not long after the restart, after colliding with the opposing defender, Huang Kaiwen felt as if his thigh muscle was torn apart, causing excruciating pain. Ancelotti was dumbfounded when he saw Huang Kaiwen rolling around in pain, clutching his thigh. It felt as if the whole world was collapsing. Realizing what had happened, she reacted like an old woman who had been beaten by a young man, waving her hands and jumping up and down, shouting at the top of her lungs, "Team doctor, team doctor, team doctor, hurry up and get up there." End of this chapter. Can chapter 20 make it in time for the opening match? Undoubtedly a quack. Don't worry, it will take at most 2 to 4 weeks to recover. I am very confident in treating muscle injuries, Dr. Melserman, head of the Milan laboratory, said to Ancelotti with a smile. Wait, isn't a muscle tear a serious injury? How can it heal so quickly? Huang Kaiwen asked somewhat unwillingly. Damn it, weren't all the labs in Milan supposed to be veterinarians? How come he got to play in the opening match? Dr. Meltherman was not angry at Huang Kaiwen's questioning. Instead, he gently comforted the team's star player, saying, "Thigh muscle tears vary in severity. Your injury is relatively minor, so your recovery will be faster. But it hurts so much. I felt like my leg was going to split open. Could you take another look at me? I think I'm seriously injured." Huang Kaiwen was still making a last-ditch effort. Ancelotti put his arm around Huang Kaiwen's shoulder and comforted him, "Don't worry, I know you're afraid of relapse if the treatment isn't complete, but our Milan laboratory is the best sports rehabilitation laboratory in the world. We use cutting-edge scientific equipment, focusing on prevention and using treatment as a supplement. Every Milan player will receive excellent care." Huang Kaiwen silently gave Ancelotti the middle finger in his mind. He thought Ancelotti was talking about the cutting-edge laboratory in the city center. In his previous life, the Milan laboratory was a representative of the veterinary school, and Dr. Meltman often appeared in news reports about football stars being misdiagnosed. Dr. Meltham also made a guarantee, patting his chest and saying, "If you don't recover within a month, I will resign." Who would have thought they'd recover in just 1 month? Having been unable to take a break for several months, Huang Kaiwen was not in a very good mood. Seeing that he looked unwell, Ancelotti comforted him, saying, "Don't worry, even if you're injured, you won't lose your starting position. You played exceptionally well today, and your long passes will be an important attacking weapon for us. I didn't expect you to be so good at both attacking and assisting. That's wonderful. Okay, whatever you say." Ancelotti happily pushed Huang Kaiwen in his wheelchair. Once he was dropped off at the club entrance, Ancelotti was immediately surrounded by reporters. "Carol, is Kevin's injury serious? How many games will he miss? Will this injury affect Kevin's position on the team? Mr. Ancelotti, will Kevin's injury affect your team's tactics? Does Milan have a solution? When Kevin was injured, did Milan revert to the 4-4-2 diamond midfield formation?" Ancelotti handed Huang Kaiwen over to Barbara, had club staff put the wheelchair and crutches in the trunk, and then deliberately attracted the attention of reporters. "Kevin is an important player for the team, and everyone at Milan is very disappointed by his injury. His ability has been a great help to the team. Even without him, we will work hard. Victory is not the responsibility of 1 or 2 players. I believe in every player, and I hope Kevin can recover as soon as possible." Barbara stepped on the gas, shaking off the reporter, and asked with some concern, "How are you? He should be able to recover before the start of the season." Huang Kaiwen said somewhat unhappily. Barbara gently comforted her, "It's all right, as long as you can make it in time for the season to start, you don't need to worry about your position at Milan being affected." Seeing that Huang Kaiwan looked unhappy, she quickly changed the subject. My girlfriend said you were great today. If it weren't for your injury, I would have liked to introduce you to Fendi, the company you signed with before. It's a company owned by a friend of mine. Is it pretty? Squeak. Another sudden stop. The young lady has some kind of problem, she suddenly stops when she gets excited. A look of pain flashed across Huang Kaiwan's face, and Barbara, who had originally intended to confront him, quickly apologized. I'm sorry, I forgot you were injured. It's okay, I was just teasing you, don't be angry. Huang Kaiwan said with a smile. Even if a long-term truce isn't possible, you can't take it out on Barbara, he was having mental issues just now. You're so annoying, don't do that again. Okay. Huang Kaiwan nodded with some guilt. After the two returned home, Huang Kaiwan realized that his hellish life had only just begun. Barbara dresses very lightly at home. He was required to avoid strenuous exercise, so Barbara forced him into a life of forced singlehood. Huang Kaiwan, who doesn't need to go to the team for the time being, played video games until after 2 a.m. before falling asleep. When he got up, he found that Barbara hadn't gone to work. You're up. I'll make you breakfast. 10 minutes later, a simple sandwich and fried egg were served, which was already the limit of the young lady's cooking skills. Where's today's newspaper? I asked Huang Kaiwan. No, they didn't come. I'll call and complain about them later. Barbara said, her eyes darting around. Take it out. Kevin Huang knows Barbara so well that he took a picture of her ample breasts. Barbara reluctantly handed over the newspaper, complaining, don't listen to their nonsense. The Gazzetta dello Sport always talks nonsense and has no credibility. Huang Kaiwan smiled at Barbara, offering her some comfort, and then began reading the newspaper. Kevin's pained expression and wheelchair suggest that his injury isn't as optimistic as Ancelotti described. He might miss half a season or even longer. This injury could impact Kevin's career. Every talented player declines to some extent after an injury, and some even leave the football world early. Below is a list of 10 stars whose careers were ruined by injuries. Upon seeing this, Huang Kaiwan's eyes lit up. Yes. His performance wasn't as good as before because of injuries. The Gazzetta dello Sport has already provided an explanation for him. Anyway, if I didn't perform well, it's all the Milan lab's fault. Seeing Huang Kaiwan smile, Barbara felt a pang of sadness. He must have smiled to put her at ease. He must have felt extremely bitter inside. Geniuses like Kevin are extremely arrogant. Being ridiculed by these inexplicable media figures and having his future predicted to be uncertain must be very upsetting for Kevin. The young lady decided to use her connections to find sports injury rehabilitation experts worldwide, even if it meant being tied up, to bring them to Milan for her lover's treatment. While eating brunch, Huang Kaiwan felt a cool breeze. This must be a problem caused by the weakened immune system after the injury. Never mind. Huang Kaiwan has decided to take a good rest for the next few days and wait for his teammates who have played in the big game to return before going back to the team to make his presence felt. He, Huang, is not one to show favoritism. If his teammates missed the previous dinner party, he'll treat them again. He has difficulty moving around. Why not just hire a chef to come to our house? Make sure Maldini brings everyone to the event. That's what we'll do. There are quite a few Brazilians on the team. If we cook some Brazilian-style dishes, won't that instantly bring everyone closer together? Damn, Inter Milan has a barbecue crew, so our Samba Milan can't fall behind. As the team's organizing committee member, I must make sure my Brazilian teammates feel loved by their teammates. End of this chapter.